Michael Gully 2 seconds before we go live. We get to break down the biggest match of the stage, Guz. This is the one that we're all looking forward to. Elevate head-to-head with Bleed in a grand final best of 3.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant the third place match, the biggest match of the stage.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, we could definitely move on to match 2. We have talked way too much about that previous match, the longest third match game in the history of RCC Esports. But yeah, this grand final, now it's time to put our serious hats on. I'm very excited for this match up. Again, I think everybody going in with the expectation that Bleed are going to continue their run of form here in Asia, but Elevate have taken the next step. They have made it to the grand final. Do they have something in the tank to be able to make this match competitive or potentially even win it out? That's the question that we're all hoping to get an answer to very soon.
Yeah, and we all have our thoughts behind the scene, but at the end of the day, what happens in the server happens in the server. You can't stop it. Once that train has left the station, it's off and running. A train that left the station over 12 months ago was Bleed, and they haven't looked back. Not for a single second. They have made every international event for the last 4 events running. Xenox, this roster has just been a force to be reckoned with inside the Asian region.
Yeah, they certainly have. 9 maps played, 9 wins. They dominate pretty much every single statistical category bar 1, which is actually just getting plants down. Where they're actually in the bottom 2 for that, but they've been doing so well that they've only actually played 27 rounds of attack this entire stage. They somehow keep getting defense first half and then just winning out on defense, which they've had a 77.78% defensive win rate. That's right. So very high up there. They lead attacker win rate as well, 66%. They lead on the entry, 65%. Again, haven't dropped a map. So everything statistically says that this is the best team. They should win this grand final. And so for the fact that when you kind of look at Elevate, who aren't that far behind in a lot of aspects, yeah, they're still so far off. Like, attack is 10% less, defense is 20% less, entry is 13% less, but they're the second team. That's, like, they're the next in line anyway, yet they're still so far off them.
Yeah, and I think that this graphic probably goes to show the best comparison, Guz, which is Bleed from Stage 1 versus Bleed from Stage 2. They just continue to improve month upon month, week upon week. They are really coming to a point where there's a question that almost needs to be posed. Who can beat them, not just in Asia, but in APAC as a whole?
Yeah, very, very good question. Will we ever get an answer to that? I mean, time will tell, but I think it's obviously very difficult to become the best team in your region. That's certainly not an accomplishment to be dismissed. But in some respects, it can be even more difficult to retain that position. Bleed haven't just done that in terms of remaining the best in the region. They have beaten themselves. They have improved. They have widened that gap statistically heading into this final play day. So
crazy.
They're in the best form we've seen. And we're going to have to see Elevate play out of their absolute minds tonight to take this team down.
Speaking of which, let's start to turn that conversation. And Guz, I will go back to you for the Elevate conversation as we turn our heads toward a matchup that realistically is a little one-sided at the moment. But if any team's going to do it in Asia right now, it's got to be this roster.
Yeah, absolutely. Elevate have certainly found some value from the imports, of course. Goes without saying that bringing in that influence from EU has served them well in the long term. We cast some doubts over the course of Stage 1, but I think we were very much of the mindset that this was going to be a project that was going to take quite a bit of time to really solidify and actually reap the benefits of. And that might even extend into 2025, again, operating under the assumption that they are going to be second best this evening. In terms of individual efforts outside of the imports, SpeakEasy as well certainly stands out as having a really solid stage, a 113 EPS. I think there was probably a period over the last 12 to maybe even 24 months where SpeakEasy, after riding the highs of being one of the best players in APAC South, saw a bit of a dip in form. So to see him back in the action and performing really well and bringing that firepower to this team, it's been so exciting to watch. And he's going to have it out for him this afternoon, right? You're taking on the likes of Reaps and Hoven, etc. He's going to have to continue to play super sharp this evening.
Now, obviously, stage 1 to stage 2 performance for Elevate, they have again continued to improve. The only thing that I guess you might note here, Xenox, is the dip in the defensive win rate, but at the same time, it definitely feels like the trend for this roster has been upward, and they're now at that point where they're in the conversation of competition against a team like Bleed.
Yeah, and it makes them feel better. Actually, I have 58% for their defensive win rate, so 4% higher than this graphic, which does then alleviate things a little bit. And then, you know, the overall body of work certainly then looks a lot better. The higher cost, the higher win rate, yeah, maybe a slight dip in terms of defense, certainly. But when you actually then look at that 58%, it's still better than everyone else. So, besides Bleed, of course, having just mentioned them. And I think that's really all you can at least ask for if you are Elevate, is to just kind of be that next team in line. We all know Bleed's going to be able to make the grand final. You've just got to be there to contest with them, to give yourself the best opportunity. You got to be in the ring to swing, you know, so you've got to be able to be there in that moment to even have any chance. You look at Fury, they didn't get that opportunity at this stage, but they've been there before in grand finals where they've had opportunities. Now Elevate finally get their time. You have to go a long time back when they've actually, the last time that this team even had a chance in a grand final that could qualify them for a major. We spoke to SpeakEasy, I think it was yesterday, Rob, but he was absolutely ecstatic and very much looking forward to this opportunity. Just got to make sure that they keep themselves kind of locked in and focused, that as excited as you are to be here in this grand final, you can go to a major if you just play really well for the next couple of hours, play the best siege you could possibly be able to put Bleed on the back foot early. First map's going to be so important, just for the self-confidence, but then also that doubt that could go into the minds of Bleed.
Now, this is for an international event, don't get it twisted, and we've spoken at length about Mentalist and Bleed as an overall unit and the display that they've put on internationally, but Guz, they're not the only ones in the server with international experience.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about numbers all day long, but I think the human element of Siege and its storylines are really where it's at. And yeah, we cooked up this graphic highlighting both Mentalist and SpeakEasy. When I think of Southeast Asian Siege, these are the two names that come to mind, both of their careers dating as far back as 2018, and they actually played together for a couple of, or for one of these international events. Pro League Season 10 Finals 2019. They actually managed to finish 3rd/4th at that event, which is insane. They then parted their separate ways. Mentalist over to Fnatic. They both attended Six Invitational 2020, but on different rosters. And Mentalist had pretty good success on Fnatic. Unfortunately, then their careers took very different paths. We saw Mentalist go on a bit of a dip and only returned back in 2023 with Bleed, whereas SpeakEasy rode the highs over that 2021 period. And so, unfortunately, they're not going to attend a LAN again once more here in this particular year. But yeah, just highlighting the amount of experience that both these guys have at the top level. And one of these players is going to add another event to that list.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look bang for buck, it's kind of crazy, Xenox. You've got a leader in one aspect and you've got an absolute god-tier player in the other. Not to say that either haven't picked up the role when it's been needed, but it's such a stark contrast in terms of like what we see fundamentally in the server. Two completely different players with just such a wealth of experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, different, for their respective teams, they have their very different roles and what is required of them, and for SpeakEasy on Elevate, he's a little bit more like a Reaps, for example, and a Bleed. And, I think Mentalist is someone, though, that can get the best out of his players. And it was very interesting seeing that graphic, really nicely put together. Guz, shout out to you for that one. I think when you kind of see that dip that Mentalist had for all those years, what's crazy is that as nice as that list was for SpeakEasy, it's come to a halt at Copenhagen. And since then, all of those accolades for Mentalist, you think about post-Copenhagen, it's been all Bleed, it's been all Mentalist. You think all the way back to Copenhagen, remember the choke, that was Bleed. They were supposed to make that grand final, which at the time, by just making the grand final, the two seeds from Asia League went over to Copenhagen, and they lost out. So, for Elevate, that was the last time they made a grand final. Now, admittedly, Rob, that particular grand final didn't matter because you went anyway. It was just a seeding grand final. So it's been a long time coming now for SpeakEasy and for Elevate to get back into this position. It's the best we've seen from them in that time, but Bleed have gotten better and better and better. And most importantly, from that previous graphic, all of that international experience, Atlanta into SI, into Manchester, what they've been able to do, even going it over to EWC, you add all of that, you add in Julio, this team has just gotten better and better and better, and it's taken a long time for Elevate to even get back into the conversation, and I still don't think they're quite there.
No, the skill gap is dramatically large at the moment. So no matter how much we want to tie this conversation together, it needs to be known for the viewers at home. If you are only just watching the Asia League, I'm telling you right now, the gap between these two teams is dramatically large. Even though it's 1 versus 2, Bleed will have the favor as we head to the veto system. This may start to determine a little bit of the conversation, guys, but I still think at the end of the day, there's not really any curveball that I could see come out that would really throw Bleed off.
Yeah, I mean, both teams are going to have very extensive map pools, and we do see the labs selected first by Bleed. It's their top preference map. They've had it banned against them 7 times this stage. They've played it once against Knock Knock. We'll keep rolling through the bans. The Cafe was taken out by Bleed, so they've also taken out the top preference map from Elevate, and so they've actually now been demoted down to their 4th preference. Now, in terms of the context, preference is calculated based off how often a map is banned against you, how often it's played. There's a lot of odds out there of Bank for Elevate. They've played it 3 times this stage. Every time they've played it, though, they have been successful, so it is still a strong map for them. The question will be, how strong was the counter-strat game from Bleed? And then, if required, Consulate will be the decider, and that is number 3 for Bleed. Number 2, interestingly enough, for Elevate, so not taken off the board in terms of a target ban. I think both teams will be rather content. Again, the biggest red flag for me, and I've already highlighted it, is probably just the volume of VODs available on Bank.
Yeah, now this is just a very quick recap of the history that these two teams have against each other over the last year and a half, 2 years at this point, and in nearly every single occasion it has been Bleed favored. Of course, 1 win back in stage 1, where the conversation about Elevate really took a turn for many at home. It was like, oh no, these guys are seriously here to compete. They went on to have a pretty good stage, unfortunately not being able to compete against the big dogs. They took their break, and coming back in stage 2, they are looking better, they are looking sharper. But I don't know if it's going to be enough. That for me, I think is really going to sum it up. I think the top result, obviously, is probably the most damning for me, Xenox. When I look at the conversation between these two teams, I just think that Bleed are on a different stratosphere now.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I will say, though, it's a grand final. There's a different stage. There's different stakes. And I think that you can somewhat let bygones be bygones, especially a lot of the 2023 stuff. Just such a different time, different era. I do agree. I think, the 7-0 stage 2, quite damning. Just to kind of add back on in terms of my thoughts on the map veto process as well. Both teams essentially just banning out initially the maps that the other team played in their respective semi-final. So just about recency there. I like Elevate on Bank. I think there's a world in which they can certainly win that, which then boils down to, can Elevate win on Labs or Consulate? That's going to be my thought process coming into this grand final. If they can find a win on either of those 2 maps, bit of a flex from SpeakEasy. And also then you go to the individuals as well for the respective lineups. Like it's a grand final, so it's going to come down to moments. You're going to have 2v2s, 1v1s, who can get some multi-kills, who can get really good on the entries. As much as this is obviously a team aspect in terms of, this match in Siege, but can a SpeakEasy, can an Nighthaven, can they go and drop 20 in a grand final match? That's all it takes to, steal something like a Labs rub. So for me, though, I'm going to go Bleed. I'm going to go Bleed 2-1. I like Elevate on Bank.
Guys, quick one, 2-1, 2-0. What are you going for?
2-1 to Bleed. Yep. 2-1.
2-1 to Bleed. There's no shot. I don't believe it. I think we're going to see a 2-0, but that's all we've got time for. It is time for us to throw it across to 2 of the very best to do it. Now, between them, 4 Pro League titles, 2 hammers. That's right. They've also got a major title and a show match 1v3. It's Pengu and Dev.
I'm glad that I at least have one thing I can contribute in that long
You're
list
in there,
of
man. You're in
accolades.
there.
Yeah. Have you got any trophies back behind you? I must have misplaced my trophy for my 1v3 in the show match.
You got a new setup. It's fine. I've been here for a while, so you'll get there. You'll get settled in.
What an intro, though. Pengu, now, the guys on the desk seem to spell a little bit of a doom and gloom story for Elevate and Bleed in this matchup, but I want to believe. I think Elevate have been improving, and particularly with our first map being Bank, we're looking at the fly-through for Nighthaven. According to the... No, okay, Bleed is going to Nighthaven first. Sorry, I'm crazy. Elevate get the second map. So Bank is where the guys on the desk reckon that Elevate might have a shot in. But if Bleed are the favored team and we start on their map pick, surely there's going to be a lot of things in their favor, a lot of reasons to put your stake in Bleed here.
The reason why Bleed are so hard to take down in a best of 3, especially, is that they have a lot more depth than the typical Asian teams, and in APAC in general. They are the APAC team, that whenever I think of an APAC team at least. They got 1-to-1 great gun skill, so you can't just out-frag them on a map like Border, for example, but they also have great strategical depth, because they got international players. They got Leader on the roster as an actual in-game player, and they have Julia, of course, as a coach behind the scenes. So they have map pool, they have strats, they have gunfire. I'm not sure how you're supposed to take them down, unless you can somehow do better than them in maybe 1 or 2 of those categories. Elevate, however, if there was a team in this stage that could actually take them down, I think it would be them. And they're looking pretty good right now. Yes, they struggled yesterday against NoCap, but I also think they learned a lot of valuable lessons in that series they can use in today's match.
And hey, we have seen these guys have competitive matches before. In stage 1, Elevate did beat Bleed. And that was a pretty, I'm not going to say convincing match, but it was a sure example of Elevate saying, look, we are here to play, we can hang with the big boys, and Bleed, pun intended, they are capable of bleeding here even in the Asia League. Though so far, they have not dropped a map since returning home from EWC after being eliminated by W7M. And that is what Bleed have going for them. Their utter dominance in recent history. The question is whether they're able to retain that and cruise all the way to another major, their 3rd consecutive major, their 5th consecutive international events. Well, of course, a whole BO3 is required to determine that, and as much as Bleed are definitely the favored team here, I don't want to count out Elevate. I think these guys are massively capable of an upset, or at least a solid fight.
Start things off, of course, Elevate on the defensive side. I am definitely expecting a 3-3 half at the worst case scenario for them. I still think Nighthaven Labs, being a relatively new map, is a bit up in the air about defender and attacker favored. It's very matchup dependent, but if this is where you're gonna choose your starting side to be, I'm expecting Elevate to feel more comfortable there. Bleed, they pick the map, Elevate, they pick the starting side. You gotta at least go even. And with the operator bands in front of us, we got both shield operators now, the Blitz and the Monty. They're done and dusted, together with the Tupero and Kaid. So this is, again, very strategical. The shields are about map control, they're about execution, and the Kaid and Tupero is, again, to keep those walls closed for as long as possible, and it's gonna force Bleed, and Mentalist specifically, to pick up Maverick right off the rip. That's your step 1. You can now get some presence towards that direct bomb set attack by either opening up the walls, or like Mentalist, just make a few dots in them. That's enough. But you still gotta deal with the map. So that's your first step. Second step, rotate off that basement position, clear out the map itself. That's what they most comes into play.
And so the scan comes out, Shed revealed. But it looks like Leader has actually since cancelled it. Perhaps is looking to focus up on another player. They should know that N-Highcal is here on Rafters as the Azami. This is a very aggressive roam. Elevate have so much map control. They're being very ambitious with it. Arpe starting to feel a little bit of pressure. He uses both of his impacts as the flashes come through. Another flash, and he is surely a dead man walking. No one had the ability to swing Arpe as of yet. However, Bleed has seemingly baited out the peak here from another player, and eventually, well, there is a little bit of a brawl. We see finally some kills come through for Elevate. It ends up even Stevens. Still the contest. Arpe eventually loses his life to Hoven, who's found 3, by the way. All 3 kills for Bleed were thanks to Hoven, but at a significant cost, losing both Leader and Reeves.
Oh, that's so worth it. Hoven played that beautifully. He was fighting a player in front of him, being very cautious of the person that was being red pinged by a drone to his right, and he read the flank as well and shot that down. That's a 1v3 effectively, with drone support, of course. We can thank Mentalist because he was still outside the basement breach, just sitting on various cameras and getting intel for his team. That's support value. He gets the wall opened up, drones for the entries, now rotates in to help them. And they got a man advantage. They got a 60 seconds record as well. Bleed are in a great position right now. Elevate, they're gonna be feeling the pressure. They're gonna wanna try and lash out for one singular kill here, try and equalize. They'll fight the vert, but if they can't find the kill, then strategically, they'll be kind of out of this one. So they have to play aggressive.
But as the time lowers down, Pengu, Elevate will start to feel their advantage, and there's still a decent amount of site util to start utilizing when that timer runs out. I mean, these Vulcan canisters come into play. Oven doesn't have a lot of options. He needs to blow it and lock himself out of the site. There's only going to be 2 seconds left on the clock by the time it detonates.
I don't know if that was the right play. I mean, you could have pushed aggressively in there. The issue is Mentalist outside doesn't have a rotate. He's making it right now, so time very much is an issue. They're gonna gamble this. Mentalist covers one angle, his teammate covers the other, and Hoven goes for a plant.
Lead, this is your time. You have no second chances. The plant's starting to go down. The coverage from Turd for one and for the double. Massive from the IQ of Turd. It came down to the last dire moments of the round, but Bleed just had to cover it with 2 seconds left to try and get that plant down. Turd fulfills his role to perfection. And straight up, Bleed already looking pretty solid on Nighthaven.
It's all about the individual player's value in that round for Bleed. There was not a single member of that attacking roster who was not actively doing something to help somebody else. Either they're holding a flank, they're holding a drone, they're entrying, or they're having a gunfight. That's a very effective roam clear. What we often see from some of the weaker teams in any region is that they'll chase the roamers with maybe 2 attackers and a guy droning. And if you lose a single gunfight, the whole thing falls apart. And you pointed out, Elevate were going for a very deep, very aggressive roam. So it's very important that Bleed to kind of match that in manpower. They had 4 people actively entering the building with just Mentalist on cams. They recognized that, hey, we have to invest a lot here to get a good return on that investment. So great first round problem solving from Bleed, already in the driver's seat. Elevate though, what they were really good at yesterday against NoCap was adapting round by round. So let's see, hey, Bleed, they're great at roam clearing. So in the second round, let's bring utility, right? Mirror windows, the Warden, the Bandit. Let's change things up here for round number 2.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like yesterday, NoCap had these insane pocket strats on Bank. Elevate would play a defense, lose to some crazy pocket strat, and then go back to that exact same defense round and plug all the holes, fix all the problems, read and counter that NoCap defense at the drop of a hat. Now, we're not seeing Elevate go back to the same bomb site. I think, like you said, they can start to get a read of the play style that Bleed are bringing to the table.
Early moments are always so important in the attack here. You lose a player early, it becomes so much more difficult. Look at the attacker lineup. There is one operator that maybe you can lose and not feel too bad about it. That will be the IQ of Turd. That does mean the Valcams will be hard to find, but you kind of need everybody else just a little bit more. You don't want to lose the Ying, you don't want to lose the Heartbreacher, you don't want to lose that soft destruction on Sophia until you spend all your charges. So Bleed gotta just keep their guns alive right now, get the walls opened up. When they've spent their resources on Sophia, on the Ace, etc., then those operators can become the entries to enable Lion and Yin to use the utility later on if that bombs and execute in a minute's time.
So what's that U1D looking to achieve? I'm just looking at the lineup as you were pointing out, and the thing that's a bit surprising to me is we only have 1 hard breacher on the lineup for this top floor attack. I mean, usually you need to breach that IT wall, you want to breach external con and then con into site, but maybe this telegraphs a little bit more of a one-sided defense. And immediately, Hoven jumps straight into Rafters and loses his life that one-way angle from the Kiba barricade, netting N-High Cal a kill and Elevate the early advantage.
Yeah, jumped in before the Cadilla actually popped. Maybe it was shot while I was rolling, I'm not entirely sure. But anybody from Bleed could have shot that Keeper barrier from either the Garrett's door or the breach itself. That should have gone better. C4 goes out. Nicely tossed from SpeakEasy. This is Elevate adapting, right? They're striking when they have to, then playing passive afterwards. They got the numbers now. They just can't throw it away without trading their bodies.
This is where Turza has to have an impact here. He's got a great gun. He's got the 3-speed operator. And he's straight up here on this entry. But yeah, he is facing the shield. He's thankfully got the nades to make this one potentially work. And he will win the fight against MC. But the trade comes through from Arpe. The trades will always favor the team with the numbers advantage. Here comes an aggressive pick. Love that from Arpe. The Deagle to finish off the down player up to Reaps. Now he was the king yesterday against Fury. Nobody could touch him. Now he's in a 1v4. Elevate, they find their first round fair and square on the top floor.
And you saw it, right? Elevate played that perfectly. They got the early last shot, they got the picks, then they played really passive. Sure, Warden kind of got caught in a bad position, but Abe was there for a trade, and that's the huge moment for Elevate. The fact that they're not afraid to take those gunfights as long as you're doing a 2 versus 1. Losing Warden like this can be the beginning of the end, but with less than a second later, Abe swings one, Abe swings a second, and while Abe goes to Deagle kill, there was a player challenging Catwalk window. So nobody was acting alone. It's very beautifully done by Elevate, but every bomb site is gonna play out a little bit differently. So you have to find your strengths and weaknesses on a round-by-round basis, and that's what makes this first half of bomb site rotations very exciting. Both teams can show their intended outcome of these rounds, their strat, their approaches, how fast it is go. Then you play the first 3 rounds, bomb site rotation reset, you go back to where you started in basement, and that's gonna be the real story of which team actually learned more about their opponent.
Yeah, so just to go back a step and look holistically at Nighthaven Labs, Bleed are undefeated on this map, 8 matches in a row. They haven't actually lost it since, well, I've got the last 6 months is how far my data goes back. I'm not sure if they've ever lost this map before. But you have a look at some of the teams they've beaten. Tell me what you think, okay, out of 10, like, name, like, give me like a rating of how good you reckon some of these teams are that they've beaten on Nighthaven Labs. So, Knock Knock.
I'm there, like a 3.
Okay, cool. FaZe Clan.
9.5.
Yeah, Wolves.
Oh, 8.
Okay. ITB.
Oh, like 7.5.
Good. Cyclops.
Oh, 5, a little bit lower.
Fury.
Oh, Fury. Okay, I was thinking Fury for a second.
Not Fury.
That's also like, yeah, okay, it's like 5 as well.
Okay, and for context, the win against Fury was a 7-1. The win against CAG was a 7-2. And yeah, so these guys,
so
the
they're
win against
comfortably beaten the 5 ranks. Okay,
yeah, and the win against Wolves was a 7-4. The win against FaZe was an 8-7. These guys are absolutely phenomenal at Nighthaven Labs. And so they should really be winning this game, and convincingly so.
So not only are they winning the games against really good teams, but they're actually doing it in the perfect order where the better the team they're up against, the closer the competition is. Yeah. Like the ranking I gave the teams and the round score that you mentioned actually lined up perfectly with more difficult team equals more difficult match, but a victory regardless. So based on those stats, absolutely they should be winning.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Bleed have a very strong map pool. The fact that they can let their very favorite map through and still pick it. I mean, it shows balls from Elevate to not ban out Nighthaven Labs and to go with other bans instead onto the lair and the clubhouse. I think probably a wise decision, but it's just amazing that we get Elevate, see what they can do here on a map that they just simply do not ever play.
Final 60 seconds, this first gunfight just about to happen. It's a swing out from Reese, but not anyway. He's a little bit unsure about the intel game right now. And there are indeed multiple defenders upstairs as well as right below him looking to get aggressive. It's the first time where Bleed have not controlled the pace. They're not taking any fights, they're just throwing out the side, finding those foul cams. They might just try and shoot the cameras and go for a cheeky plant, but they have very little util. Nothing left on the attack inside, just guns. That's really it.
But guns can do the job. Especially if we can find an execute position from leader. There's still a little bit of wiggle room with the timer. Flashbang in the 5v5, and execute is so terrifying. That's why Bleed want to try and bait out a pick first. Unfortunately for them, the pick goes against them. Here comes the C4. There's no information on the site. And so the plant will be confirmed. The second C4 will eventually kill that planter. But it's too late now to deny the diffuser from going down. And so the round flips. A 5 versus 3 as this defense looks to retake. However, that plant spot is going to be so fickle. Good pick though from MC. Just Reaps and Hoven now. With Reaps up above, I don't think they know about his position. Hoven's found one and they know where he is. They run outside for him. It's all up to Reaps. In the 1v4 with 13 seconds to play, he just has to deny this plant for as long as he possibly can. They should be able to hear him. A spray could save the round! Reaps has clutched it up! Doesn't matter if he gets any more kills, this is a 1v4. And all of the other players have gone downstairs. I cannot believe it! Reaps has just saved Bleed.
Oh no, someone must have trolled. So we all know that Reeves is playing up above vertically from the breach, but they thought he was in the basement. So they sent the entire army of people in the wrong direction. That's why they were sticking the defuse. They thought it was safe. Reeves would have had to sprint all the way from the bomb site, outside, rotate to spawn, and go in the window. That takes more than 7 seconds. They thought it was a done deal.
Wow.
They completely trolled the call out there on what floor he was playing from.
Wow.
2v5?
I cannot believe that. 2v5, but a 1v4, and I mean, essentially a 1v5, right? Wasn't it? Oh no, sorry, we did see one kill from...
It was a singular kill, yeah.
A singular kill from the guy outside the breach there, but I mean, that's unreal. Also, think of like how this C4 being in a slightly different position could have saved that round completely. Elevate did so much, right? Even this year, like sprinting out and refragging Hoven on the breach. This is all it took. 3 players on the defense of Elevate went downstairs. Let's have a look at the player cam reaction. Gobsmacked. Upbe's just laughing about it. I mean, Reap's just a little machine here. Mentalist is saying, what on earth are they doing? And Reaps immediately turns into a keyboard warrior and starts typing in the all chat.
I mean, that's a question mark situation for sure, and the question is whether it was the guy who died to the vert that was like, guys, he's below, or somebody else calling over him from a camera maybe, because it can be tricky. Early pick from Turret, not sure where that was, maybe a spawn pick deny. You know, in IKEL, he likes to go for those aggressive plays, especially when Elevator playing from behind. It happened a lot yesterday. So, Lee start off on the same pace, right? Mentalist +1, they go downstairs, they get the breach opened up with those small holes, then they're gonna rotate upstairs and go for that room clear. So, same exact take, more or less, from Bleed. There was a spawn pick attempt on the door there, across the map and lounge. And we need to see Elevate now adapt around this. Because if these are going to be the same entry points and the same approach to the attackers, we have to see like a pre-play C4 with those valve cams, or stacking operators in the right positions, or falling back before the roam gets cleared to effectively buy Bleed. Especially when the operator that you're losing early in the round isn't someone who's already chucked out all his util, like a Mira or a Goyo or a Castle. No, it's Irizami, the one with the regenning util. Yeah, that's not a great start for Elevate. But Bleed aren't getting too over-aggressive, like they're not getting too crazy about it. They're, again, just like really slowly and methodically checking every little piece of setup. Particularly I want to praise Turd because he's faced so much criticism. He's a strong fragger, and when you are a strong fragger, it's so easy to just be like, well, I've got a license to go get aggressive. But this dude is standing outside the building, even halfway through the round, and still calling out and pinging out all these Valk cams to his team. That's why he's picked that IQ. I can see this maybe being the influence of Leader join the roster, actually, where when you build that early man advantage, it's very EU style to say, guys, get that early pick buys us like the entire round victory, basically. The conversion rate of getting open and killing an attack like this is like 80%. The only way Bleed should lose this, besides making a massive mistake, is if they go too quickly in the building and they die to those pre-play C4s due to the Valk cams. So Turd is doing such a good job, like you pointed out. He's finding those cameras, slowing things down, and recognizing as a team, guys, we got this one, just don't speed up too much now. Time is a little bit of a problem though. With 40 seconds, might have got a little bit slow with those Goyo canisters, but they still have a good angle into this. The only thing that can happen now for Bleed, they can't get flanked at the wrong time and lose vert control, because then they can't go for a plant.
Yeah, I mean, that is the concern, the late round util. And these C4s, even if they're not used for vert, they can be used to deny the plant. And we can clearly see what kind of a plant this is going to be. Not moving in from Exo's side, but ready to move in now onto the side. But here comes a flank from MC and a C4 to boot. Devastating now for Elevators. They just have 2 players left, yet they have found something to conjure up. Now Turdster forcing that plant down. MC waiting for his moment to flank, but both players from Elevate need to retake this together. It is a 2 versus 2, and caught out, Turdster's taken down. All up to Reaps. He's saved us a 1v4. Can he do a 1v2 again in the post plant? And they know exactly where he is. He's the buck, the perfect operator. Sees both. The first one down. 1 kill's all he needs now, and he spots the eyes onto SpeakEasy, but SpeakEasy gets the last laugh. Confirm that kill, my friend. A big 3k on the round for him, and Elevate will tie the scoreline.
It's so close. It's a valiant effort for Bleed to go for that plant in a 2v2. It's a little bit messy post-plant because you don't have upstairs control, and both the last attackers are stuck pretty much in a corner. And Elevate, they just stabilize things out. They recognize that, hey, we cannot deny the plant. We're not in the right position for it. What we can do, however, is try and take down that third attacker inside of EXO and make it from a 2 versus 3 into a 2 versus 2. So they're basically giving up the bomb site, they're giving up the plant, but they equalize the numbers. And it's the right play. Because if they try and go for the planter, and maybe even get a kill there, they will get flanked from EXO shortly after. So they played it so well in problem solving. You see right there when the plant went down, leader died. That's them equalizing. That was SpeakEasy lashing out, while MC just sat on his own, holding a passive angle, not risking a swing. So excellent teamwork there from Elevate to salvage what should have been a lost round.
Nice. And I'm loving the fist bumps that we get from both teams as well. We've talked about what sets Bleed and Elevate apart from the rest of this region, and it's a lot of factors. I think you can boil it all down to support. In the APAC region, obviously, there's just less money involved compared to like Europe, North America, even Brazil to some degree. And teams like Bleed and Elevate that can afford to bring in international talent, that can afford to be supported with a team house, or at least some of the players having the ability to play in the same space together, it's a massive benefit. I mean, how can you prepare to play at a LAN event? How can you really work like the top level and get that team chemistry if you don't have that? I don't know, I'm just speculating, I'm just imagining, but I think it must be a huge advantage for these guys.
It is a huge advantage, but it's also about what are you able to do with it. We've seen imports before not working out, whether it's EU going to NA or Brazil going to EU or NA. It can work if your system is right, people they invest into it in terms of motivation and listening and understanding. Mentalist, when they won yesterday in the interview, he talked about how he was afraid of leader join the roster and there'll be a big clash because they lead differently, they have different ideas of how to communicate. But leader joined the roster and Mentalist was like, we have so much respect for each other. He's not coming from Europe being some hot shit who's gonna teach us the game. He's joining this roster, working with us to become a better team, and for him to have the right fit in the roster as well as an individual. And that's why Lead went from a really good team to an even better. Because they all invested into that same idea, the same philosophy of how to play the game together. Elevate are doing the same thing, of course, at a smaller scale, you can argue, but they're both finding success. They're both now fighting for a spot for the major. This is the grand finals because they've done this, both of them.
Yeah, very apt. It's the first time in a very long time that we've had Elevate able to fight for a spot at a major. But damn, this region is competitive, man. Like, I know that Bleed have really taken themselves to the next level, but this is still such a competitive region. I firmly believe that probably any of the top 4 teams in this region will be taking maps away from international teams, certainly beating some of the weaker regions at these international events. Now as we see the 5th attack from Bleed, nice little nade there through the floor. Mentalist is trying to bait out someone to swing him. I like the way he's using that death mark. Shed dancing back and forth, and now he must fall back. There goes the C4, but well dodged. I think he quite landed over the top of that electrical unit. Reaps now just holding this line. On the other side is Shed with that shotgun. Not an easy fight to take. But Elevator's starting to be strangled out. However, they find the opening pick. And Highcal's found leader as well. What is this aggression? SpeakEasy and Ed Highcal have jumped in together with the Vectors and brought this round to life. Put it to bed. Bleed now. It's just Mentalists. And they know exactly where he is. The poor guy has got a world up against him. The 1 versus 5, and they're still contesting him through the round. I mean, this round is done. Elevate have taken the lead, and Bleed is starting to feel pressured for the first time in a long time here on Nighthaven.
It's a flawless even. I mean, going back to before the first round started, I was like, Elevate, they need a 3-3 half at worst and a 4-2 half at best. That's like the expectations right now, and they are matching that score. Also, to go back before the first round started, it was a lot about what happens on the second bomb site rotation, right? Round number 4, 5, and 6, because that's when the defenders of Elevate, they can look at the attacks and say, hey, this is going to be their playstyle, this is their approach, now we have to tailor our defensive setup to counter it. And that was a beautifully done counter in that previous round on CCTV. They basically said, okay, we got them exactly where we want them, and they're not going to have enough bodies to match our firepower. We're going to have 2 people go for an aggressive flank and have the third guy hold the angle with a shotgun. So If Bleed they go forward, they get stuck on close quarter, they're gonna die. And if Bleed stands still, they'll get flanked with 2 players, having arguably advantageous gunfights favoring Elevate. So it's a really good read of where the line in the sand is between these 2 rosters. Because if Bleed don't make an aggressive move, they'll lose. And if they over-aggress, well, there's a good chance they'll lose anyway. Final round in the first half though. Bleed, I think it's up to them right now to show that they have attacks cooked up that are not just going to be like basic, fundamentally good strats. We've not seen those craziness from them. We've not seen the one-off, the pocket strats. We've not seen any shield play. No Blitz and Monty are banned, but Fuse is available. This is a very simple style for Bleed to play Nighthaven Labs for, and I think it's beginning to become a little bit predictable if you elevate.
Yeah, scary prospect. Can you imagine beating the best team in the region on their very best map? I can't. But Elevate are really making this a competitive grand final, something that especially the desk was really worried about. Even Manic said it was probably going to be.
I mean, no.
I mean, I was, but I'm like been the underdog's best fan here. I've picked the underdogs in every single match in the entire playoffs, and I have 0 out of 4 correct so far.
Nice.
And I picked Elevate for this one as well, so I'm just being an underdog shill. But yeah, realistically, Bleed should win this and probably win this comfortably, and we're not seeing that right now. And it's a testament to Elevate. Like, this isn't Bleed, like, what are you doing? This is Elevate. You guys have come here and you've actually worked on your labs and you've read into Bleed, and guns are firing on game day.
See the entry if it's possible. Those flashbangs, the team flash actually, not so good for Mentalist. It stops the push and might have lost what could have been a relatively free kill onto Abe on the cast because he's run to Aqua Stairs instead. Oh, no mind. There's a mirror window, not so free anyway. But this is a roam game. A lot of util. Keep it bears, deployable shield, mirror windows. It's not just going to be a simple gunfight fiesta here for Bleed unless Elevate get overly aggressive and swing on first.
Oh, I thought Enhaika was going to have the chance to fall off, but Hoven critically lands that kill. That was really well played there, and really thankful for Bleed that they were able to find that kill, because I thought that Elevate were able to delay enough time. I'm pretty sure MC is still holding his position, though, and he doesn't really have a way out. He could try and crossfire here with Shed at the top blue. These flashes both miss, but MC, he's watching his back as well, and he's taken down Mentalist. Now there's an onslaught from Bleed, several players coming in through. Shed has to support him, but unfortunately, Leader comes through, and Hoven finds the kill onto Shed. So the round is flipped again, and Elevate looking very dicey as we go into the final minutes of the final round of this half.
Very quick response there from Bleed to say, hey guys, we got a player stuck in the corner of the Warden. We gotta take him down. What is that, SpeakEasy? No intel on Garage. Walks out, dies for nothing, leaving Abe in a 1v4. Surely not clutchable. With 25 seconds to go, Bleed have plenty of time, plenty of bodies, and they all have full HP.
And yeah, Turd's going to easily lock that last kill out. Bleed confirm what ended up being a very dominant round, but a very even half. And I don't know what to say other than that bodes pretty well here for Elevate. A 3-round defense, yes, this map can sometimes skew defensive favored, but at the top level sometimes skew attacker favored. I think Elevate should just be happy that they've managed to keep pace, with Bleed on their very best map.
When it comes down to the good old, how good are you on the attack inside? Because let's say you reinforce 10 walls, put down some shields, and you let go of your mouse and keyboard. If the attackers don't do a whole lot, you'll win regardless. So defenders are always favored against the bad attacking teams. So this comes down to Elevate's own performance now. We know Bleed, they know the basics, they know their fundamentals, they'll do like a good side setup, they'll play strong operators, they'll play the meta, no doubt about it. If Elevate can correctly attack these setups, they can absolutely take this in regulation or push it into overtime. But if they have some lackluster attacks or they don't seem to have a good idea of what they wanted to accomplish in the rounds, we're gonna see Bleed just steal this first map away. Look at these operators, a lot of thinking being done. From Deimos onto Maverick, from Maverick onto Glass, Kali being brought out as a mirror counter too. This is Elevate saying, hey, this is the bomb set upstairs. We're seeing maybe 3 of the various defending operators. We're gonna try and go for a counterplay. But the one thing here that they didn't account for is Reeves was hiding the Maestro the entire time in the middle of the side. And those 3 Evil Eyes that can see through smokes is gonna counter both the Ying and the Glass right now. So we gotta try and see if those Maestro Evil Eyes will change the outcome of this round, just purely utility based.
Yeah. The one thing that keeps at bay this oppressive smoke flash meta is the fact that, we've got Maestro, we've got bulletproof cameras, and oh yeah, don't forget about Warden. But it all comes down to exactly how it plays out, right? And this angle, I tell you what, when I learned that that was a thing, I was like, okay, that's filthy. Defenders are just going to get minced on it. And then I saw defenders start winning that with hollow sights, and I was like, how on earth is that even possible?
Yeah, the big thing about pro play and you play like 4-3 aspect ratio is that those holo scopes become basically 1.5 to that point. And when you have a good gun skill player with a bunch of confidence, he's younger than 22, they can hit the craziest shots. But the moment you turn 23, it's thermite duty, baby. You start droning, you start hop reaching, you start planting. It's a curse that follows most players in this game. At a certain point, you just can't hit your shots anymore. Not the case for Hoven. Not the case for Reaps. These guys usually step up, and they, at least in this stage, have been massive so far. It's a very quiet first attack round for Elevate. That makes sense, right? They're still feeling out things, but they see these evil eyes, and it did catch them by surprise.
Well, the Evil Eye's still going to keep spotting him. Is anyone able to swing on the back of it? Doesn't seem to be. And SpeakEasy right on the front foot here. With his smoke ahead of him, he wants to make an entry. That Keeper barrier may have saved the position, but no Turnstone goes down regardless, and somehow the Glad's still allowed to survive. And Hycal doubling down. The sprint in though. It's not going to happen. There's good cover, but still only 2 players left up. Leader has to come to life, and he does. Another kill with that Vector. Mentalist is just inches away from death here, hiding behind the tiniest bit of cover. As Elevate have 50 seconds to get that diffuser back in pocket, rotate back out again, and shape up for a plant.
Bleed should know something is going on. No one's pushing them. They're not being droned. They should recognize that, hey, they're rotating for a plant, but on that pillar position. They don't have a C4. They can't quite go downstairs. They have to fight 2 versus 1 while MC plants.
So it all comes down to Hycal on the cover. 1 kill traded back by Leader. MC now is the car lead, but Leader... Let's see if the European import, or which of the European imports will win it out. MC, massive from him with that sniper rifle, no less. And Elevate, unbelievably, once again have the lead here on Bleed's map pick.
There's 2 things. You can see Mentalist right now in the play cams actually definitely talking strategy and what happened, what went wrong in that round. And there's 2 things that I noted down. First of all, the Warden player, which was Mentalist, was stuck in this position on the shield and aqua hallway. He wasn't seeing the glass, he didn't see the smokes, he wasn't effective against the Ying, because all of those pieces of utility happened on the Garrett side of the map. So the Warden rendered completely useless. Second thing is, like I mentioned earlier, in that 2v2 when nothing is going on, Bleed, they have to have an active talk about what they should be doing. Because if the enemy goes for a plant pillar, which is exactly what happened, you're gonna be locked out. The best thing you can do is catch the timing when they go for that rotation and there's only 1 person inside the bomb site from the attackers. You fight that person 2 versus 1, enemy can't go for a plant. They put themselves in the corner, go swing from a singular angle in a 50-50 gunfight. It's not, the best case scenario for them at all. Didn't have a C4, couldn't go downstairs. So Bleed locked themselves out of not having enough options to work that round.
5 seconds left.
Yeah. I'm still gobsmacked. Like, I was really picking with my heart with the Elevate pick. And of all the maps to expect Bleed to struggle, I did not think it would be this one. I did not think it would be Nighthaven. And like, keep in mind, like, one of Bleed's 3 round wins was Reaps' 1v4 that he probably should not have won. We would have a very different scoreline if that round had gone the other direction. I guess there's still time. On this defense, Bleed can find their footing again. Even though they are, once again, really nailing away at it here with this Maestro. And there's no Brava ban. We could see the repick, but at least we do have one form of counter, which is the Dokkaebi and the EMPs that she brings. But that was a very easy way to clear out the first.
Too easy. That's actually very damaging because that loses them the side intel and a big powder plant and empty smoke deny. You can see Bleed probably expecting these smokes to be coming out by picking up the Maestro and the Valkyrie, doubling down on intel, having a lot of plant deny, right? The Goyify, the double C4s. Call comes out, fire smokers can catch some momentarily here. I don't think it's going to be the execute though. They're faking it out, using their first set of utility. They're going to see what Bleed's response will be. Then they have a second go with more smokes later on, and that's going to be the real execute because they were actually roam clearing while that was happening.
Yeah, and okay, Leader thankfully finds 1, but a good trade there from Shed, who's found both of these entries on this roam clear. Who cares about Maverick being a hard breacher? He can be an entry fragger as well. Now he's got this backstab position, he's got this vertical angle from the holes. Mentalist needs to make sure not to go down, but he does anyway. No more Evil Eyes this round, at least not for actually lasering people. And now even Turks is feeling that pressure, and Impact finds nothing. 2v2 though, as Holven is desperately doing what he can. The shotgun comes out, but too late. SpeakEasy puts him down. Turks in a 1 versus 2. Shed and SpeakEasy, all this information for Turks to work with is he's got this Boss G. No ACOG though. This is not something you see every day. The information may feed for him, but the angle is covered by SpeakEasy. I can't believe what I'm watching, but Elevate are running away with Nighthaven.
They're playing it so well. I mean, this goes back to the first kind of fake execute, right? They're smoking and Capital firing from the breach outside the building, and Glass is just shooting into the walls, applying all this fake pressure. And Bleed in response are kind of trying to give up the roam and fall back towards the bomb site, thinking, hey, the plant is going down. And the only reason why that could even be possible is 1, they shot that Maestro Evil camera for free, and 2, the Dogebi call came out so that you couldn't check the cameras immediately. And while those roamers are trying to get back towards the bomb site, that's when they find 2 kills upstairs on the roam clear. They basically roam cleared by hitting the bomb site itself, and they got a 2 for 1.
Yeah. Oh man, this is a much needed tactical timeout, and I don't know, arguably they should have taken this earlier. Bleed really need to get on their bike now. They cannot afford to lose another round in this half. I mean, to take it in regulation, not that it matters for the standings or anything. This isn't... We're not in Kansas anymore, Pengu. We're not in round robin anymore. This is a BO3 territory, but I just cannot imagine like Bleed having to fight in overtime just to win their very first map. Like, I was listing off earlier what we'd seen. Like, firstly, the last time these two teams met in the server, it was a 7-0 in favor of Bleed on Clubhouse. Very different Elevate on that day. I don't know what was going on with them. But you look back at Nighthaven, like, demolished teams like Knock Knock and CAG and Fury in 7-2s or better. Even Wolves they beat 7-4. Even FaZe Clan Bleed beats, though it was 8-7. And now Elevate, like, I mean, they've clearly done their homework. They've come into this game with a clear understanding of how Bleed work. And what I think is almost more impressive than all of that is the fact that Elevate are not in their own heads. Because we have seen Elevate get in their own bloody heads time and time again. Like, why is the second best team in the region losing 7-0? We should never see them lose 7-0, but they lost 7-0 to Bleed this stage, and they lost 7-0 to Fury last stage. I don't care how good your opponent is. Losing 7-0 shows that you don't have the mental strength, and yet Elevate are actually coming here to play today.
Ape went from Nook to Blackbeard on the last second of attacker repick, and they got out the fuse shield as well. I think you're right though. Elevate, they've done their homework, they've done their prep work, and they know kind of what to expect here from Bleed. And they're not in their own heads, they are fighting back, they're taking risks, they're playing aggressive, they're actually controlling the pace more often than not. If you can control the pace against Bleed, then you're doing extremely well, because that almost never happens. Outreach goes out, Impact Deny in response to slow things down here. Very valuable to Impact Grenade these Selma charges, because Ace only has 3 Selma charges, you have 2 Impact Grenades on a single operator, and it's just not vital part denying the map. Yeah, there's no Thermaribana in play. No Maverick either, so EMP goes out, Heart Canister, the secondary Heart Breach goes out at the same time. That's the fuse shield, by the way. So this is Elevate saying, hey, we can play the glass, we can play the smokes, we can also play other angles though. The big kind of question mark for me is Blackbeard? Like, what are we doing here? Right? Like, what's that doing?
These days Blackbeard, there's almost no reason to pick him.
It's not good!
Yeah, he's just not that good. I mean, those shields are like a wet piece of paper. And you've got plenty of other operators that you can bring the nades for. That gun is absolutely abysmal as well. Like 20 bullets, it's not even that high damage, not even that good. But here comes an entry with a shotgun, no less. And yeah, somehow the fuse immediately goes down with no response. The shotgun Thatcher has not yet found the kill, but SpeakEasy is there. He wants to try and take that fight, and he does! He sneaks in, he gets traded by Leader, and Elevate are slowing down. And it may indeed be a slow to a halt, as Ape on that Blackbeard is the last one left in a 1v4.
Oh man, poor guy. Bleed responded so well though. Toxic Babes came out to shut down the fuse, and a small mistiming from Elevate. I don't think they struck at the exact same moment there. Definitely like a 2-second delay, which can make or break that execute. People can still up. Ape on the Blackbeard last alive. Didn't find much value, just had those 2 grenades. Good luck, have fun. Even if they swing him, he's gotta be good for 4. Very unlikely. And you see the discipline from Bleed. They're not gonna put one around. Or way rather, they just hold an ankle.
Yeah, and let's see this from Turt's point of view, but the Blackbeard these days, like that shield just like tells someone that you're peeking, because it's very wide, that shield. It's not protecting just your head, it somehow protects the space next to your head as well. It doesn't have the HP to back it up. Alright, Bleed finally back in the game. Or so it seems, but I would love to have heard that tactical timeout. I want to know what was Julio saying. Like, was he absolutely rinsing them? Or was he being like, you know, the Ted Lasso, the good dad kind of, like the football coach dad kind of vibe? I don't know. But whatever it was, it clearly worked, at least for a little bit.
I recall back when Julio first joined this roster, I don't remember if it was the players or Julio himself in an interview saying this, but they didn't need Julio to make strats or to teach them the game. That wasn't like the main aspect of what he could really bring to the table. It was about the emotional control in the server and being able to just be less emotional about difficult rounds or when you're going on a round loss streak and stuff like that, tilting essentially in the server. One thing that happens with young players, and this is where somebody like Chert will get brought up a lot, right? Is their how mature are they emotionally, right? On social media, in in-game chat, they're memeing, etc. And while that can be mental warfare towards your opponent, and that can benefit your own team, of course, tilting the enemy, it also means that what if they tilt internally when things happen to them? So I think Julio not means tactical timeout. It's about slowing things down, saying, guys, remember the strats, remember the prep work, play together, stop making these silly mistakes, and communicate. Please communicate. I've seen the face on Mentalist when we see the player cam so many times. That's an in-game leader, that's a captain who is saying, guys, we're not talking enough. Feed me more information. I think that's been what that was about. It's about resetting mentally.
They also Bleed, but to be honest, both of these teams are known for being quite lighthearted teams as well. Like, you were saying that you often see Mentalist's face saying, let's go. Okay. Hold that thought a second. There is an execute, or at least a bait execute happening, and immediately Reeps just died. Reeps just gets his kill on the shed from the vert. There is a trade from Cal. That's something, but this push has just fallen completely flat here for Elevate. Unfortunately, you cannot go for a rush without addressing the vert whatsoever, and that one kill from Reeps has completely stalled out this push.
Yes, and I hate to be that guy, but that entire execute falls apart for a very simple reason. Abe Selma breached the wall in such a way, the Fuse of Shed had to vault in the breach. And this is where Thermite is so excellent as a hard breaching operator. You pop the wall, you sprint in, everybody's happy. When you get stuck in that vault pump, especially as a shield, your animation, you can't turn really. So you're super exposed to angles and getting pre-fired, and there's a sound cue for the defenders when you go in. Small things, massive consequences, not good enough.
Hogan's waiting here, easy shotgun kill, there you go. Round done. MC probably should just take this next minute to be an impromptu tactical timeout. There's not much point in trying, you know, 1 versus 4. You will anyway. So I'll finish my point that I was trying to make before.
Okay.
Which was, yeah, here we go, he's dead. There you go. Right, now I'm going to make my point, which was you were saying that Mentalist is like, you know, he's the kind of leader that can bring them into the game, but he's also the kind of player that is often laughing. Like, Mentalist is the epitome of... In fact, I wonder if maybe it comes from the origins of kind of both of these teams in a way. You know, Mentalist and SpeakEasy did play for quite some time together on that very old Aerowolf roster, who made their name by beating the old Giants roster in Tokoname. They then played again together on IG more recently. But that roster was always known for being funny, being memey. Like, they laugh about how terrible they are when they make mistakes. And that's a sense of humor that I know Mentalist definitely still has. And yeah, it actually brings me back to very old. I don't think you would remember this player, but there was a player called Luna Metal who was actually their coach way back.
I know Luna Metal. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Oh, you know.
Yeah, of course I know Luna Metal. Are you crazy?
I wasn't sure how much APAC you followed back in the day, mate, but he would have been on the same event.
We shout on them on social media every day. We know their names, okay?
Okay.
Like, you guys suck.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly my point, right? Is that was their sense of humor. Like, Luna had this sense of humor that he drilled into that team. Like, he's like, guys, I'm old. Like, we're from APAC. We're from Singapore. We're probably gonna lose every game. Like, he went to the very first 6 Invitational, and I think they actually got a map off like the of the runners-up, but like they were always humble. They were like, guys, we're kind of shit. And Mentalist and SpeakEasy both have that kind of attitude to their teams. And that kind of humor, I think, really lightens up the mood, especially when you're like, shit, guys, we need to win this to make tens of thousands of dollars and qualify for the major, and therefore for Bleed also likely qualify for 6 Invitational. Like, there is a huge amount on the line here, and yet you still just have to laugh about it when you make a stupid mistake.
The human mind can be a dangerous thing, right? If you're like relaxed and lighthearted and just kind of doing your thing, you're thriving. You're not gonna question a second guess yourself. But if you're playing for, you know, the major spot up against a big name enemy, and it's so serious and you shouldn't be winning all these things, you're gonna start underperforming or doing things differently because you're not in your element. So having that lightheartedness and being able to joke around, I think a lot of successful teams in sports and also esports, they have that ability to just be comfortable and have a good team environment. It's so important. I mean, we spoke about how Elevate, they've been taking the risks. They've not been second guessing themselves. I think they have a great team environment nowadays too that enables themselves to have this kind of play style. And look at their operator lineup. They're again playing the glass, playing the fuse, playing the ying. Very chaotic, very high risk reward. You can't do this if you're tilting, saying, oh, that's a stupid play, guys. It's too risky. Let's stop doing these things. No, they believe in each other.
Yeah. Does seemingly work in terms of taking the ground. Yeah, Shed just walked through that barbed wire and took 20 damage for his trouble, by the way. But they don't. They get ground, but they don't actually get any kills for it because Bleed had already fallen back, which maybe in retrospect was the right decision. They live to fight another day. They live to let that timer whittle down and look for plant denial in the late round.
Definitely a bit of a mind read there from Bleed. Oh my god, the double C4 from down under. Okay, that's the fuse and the ace. That's terrible. It's actually also gonna be the soft destruction virtually because the ace is playing the soft 18 charges. So now they have limited vert. Of course, the ace is dead, but the fuse, the shield, that's the planting operator most likely. That's also in the grave. They spent all those resources room clearing top floor, and Bleed just ran out of there. They recognize that Elevate, they have 2 or 3 attempts in the strat, right? And the first set of smoke, the second set of smokes, and then the Yink and the less. If they use the smokes and fall back, they won't have stuff for later on. This is Bleed just playing the utility game, understanding what Elevate wants to achieve, and then countering, but just not playing into it.
And since that C4, Elevate have really struggled to achieve very much. They jump in and just die to someone watching the vert. Easy kill there for Mentalist. Something there for SpeakEasy, but yeah, round is done. And believe it or not, Bleed have just won 3 consecutive rounds of defense and brought themselves onto match point. From the 5-2 deficit, they're back into it.
And what was the starting point of that 3-round victory? The tactical timeout.
Yeah.
That was called, and success all the way through ever since. Look at this. NIKL perfectly positioned himself between the C4 and the fuse for the double kill confirmation. And the C4 went out because fuse was cluster charging the floor. It was based off a sound cue. Beautiful stuff from Bleed. And yep, that right there, it's triggered Elevate's tactical timeout, which comes a little bit late, you can argue. But I don't blame them for taking it now. Things have been very close. Their strats technically have been working until they aren't anymore. So I think they were in their right mind to just like stick this out for as long as possible, because when they call a tactical timeout, Bleed can also talk, you know, amongst each other and their support staff too.
Yeah, and it worked for Bleed when they had it before. Let's hope it works for Elevate, because something in me says that they deserve a little bit more out of this Nighthaven. After being up 5-3, they really impressed me. They won the first 2 attacks in a row, by the way. But almost every single round they've brought the glass. They've brought the fuse 3 times as well. Like, I think it's clearly time for a change. It's working sometimes. It's not working all the time. And I think Bleed, really, it's thanks to them. Thanks to their adaptations. If you look at the way that they defended in that last round, man, like... Yeah, the glass, the fuse, the execute comes out of the top floor. Bleed are nowhere to be seen. They've fallen back and like, okay, well now you guys have to play vert and we're going to see for you.
So, this is the thing. When Bleed won the attack inside, I was being a little bit critical because they're playing a very predictable style of siege. Not playing any of those like funky, you know, execute operators and such.
Sorry, we're just getting a real
the camera got a little bit close there.
Yeah, getting very intimate with Clash's eyebrows there. Thank you, Observer.
Oh, man. And likewise, I feel like Elevate took too many attempts to try and be funky on their attack inside, to the point where it became predictable. They're gonna keep trying to force the glass in the Ying. It's not like Elevate banned the Warden or banned the Maestro and are trying to brute force this playstyle. They're actually playing the operators that they are against a lot of counter-ups, right? Bleed were playing Goyo a lot, Smoke, they're playing Warden, Maestro. Elevate, it's taken them, what, 5 rounds? They're still showing the glass after tactical timeout, but the other 4 operators are more normal. But then look at this.
Wow.
NICal goes in alone, no drone work, no support, no trade game. That's almost throwing the round away. You lose your soft destructor, you lose the counter to the mirror windows. That's a very, very tough loss to suffer that early in the round.
I think NICal must have just trusted himself to win his one, but Hoven doesn't lose though, so he is the best player in this region right now. Nobody has touched Hoven for his consistency at fragging out for Bleed. He's the most untouchable player. And immediately opening kill for him, Elevate fighting from behind, less util to play with. Even if NICal had found that kill, I mean, yeah, it's nice, but that benefit that Elevate would have gotten is not as significant as the detriment of them losing that opening death. Like, that's the funny, ironic thing for Elevate in that scenario.
It's all about risk assessment. You're right, it was not worth it to get the kill at the risk of dying in that gunfight whatsoever. Somehow, there is no real proper mirror into deny though. So maybe losing the Ash isn't as doom and gloom as I thought it was gonna be. They don't have impact grenades, no Ash Water Knife, a bandit for example. But they are losing their top gunner outside of SpeakEasy on glass, a little bit more limited in when he can take these gunfights. I want to see Ape find good value downs with Deimos right now. He's striking players, arguably the wrong ones, can't quite find the angle to kill them. But it is causing a lot of distracting and forcing the players to move around a whole lot upstairs.
Now, unfortunately for him, Shed on the window as well was not able to cover as Hoven swung out. So Hoven has been allowed to survive a little bit longer here. SpeakEasy gets very aggressive in IT, but he's forced back out again thanks to the Dread Mine.
1v1.
And Shed just goes in for another 1 versus 1. Hoven is farming today. Mentalist almost lost his life on that clash, but you know there's not many counters for it now. And here comes the Glaz getting very aggressive. Arpe can find 1, but the round is done and dusted. The map is in the bin for Elevate. Bleed. They looked a little bit rough around the edges at the start, but a massive comeback on the back of their tactical timeout seals the deal on Nighthaven, and they continue to be untouchable on this map.
There's this weird thing about Bleed where up against Fury on Clubhouse yesterday, they looked very beatable for a good while off that map. And then there's like a switch that gets flipped for Bleed where it's like time to stop disrespecting our opponent or something like that, and they play the real game that they're able to perform in, and then they just stomp the rest of the series. That kind of happened as well here, not even Labs. It's very surprising, and I want to see them actually step up from the very beginning and not have these kind of stumbles early on.
Oh, I mean, it was a good showing from Elevate, but 9 times undefeated in a row now on Nighthaven Labs for Bleed. It is their best map for a very good reason, and we'll break it down further on the desk.
9 times undefeated. That's a stat that would horrify the greatest of players. Guz, I think what Pengu was saying there is a really interesting point to kind of lead into the desk with. It does feel as though Bleed allow the games to maybe be a little closer in the semi-final and now today than potentially we may have expected. You know, they've turned into the second half. They get defense, all things considered. There's defense. They go 4 rounds clean to close it out. I mean, you know, is it a case of potential nerves? Do you feel like maybe they're just not locking in early enough? What's the go here?
I think from my perspective, it probably leans into Elevate actually being really competitive on this map. You know, we've discussed it multiple times, and the streak reflects that Labs is a very dominant map for Bleed. They're very difficult to verse on this particular map. But Elevate played decently well, right? They get 3 rounds in the first half, and then I think most critically, and what made that momentum shift so strange, was round 7 and 8 on the attack. They come out of the gates and win both primary sites. Like, that was pretty shocking. But much like the case in the Bleed Fury game yesterday, right? And as Nick alluded to, they just flick a switch, Bleed, and they seem to have just the ability to always find win conditions when they're backed up against the wall, when the pressure begins to mount. They're the ones that are constantly able to rise to that occasion. And we saw some of their star players really fire up in this particular match. I mean, Hoven topping the charts, that's pretty expected, but even we were talking about him as well. just in terms of the stage, Turd, like he really turned it up this stage after being under a lot of pressure, and he's not trailing too far behind in second place. So their gunners stepped up and Bleed able to get that result across the line. But I still think in terms of the series, it bodes pretty well for Elevate that they were competitive here on map 1.
Yeah, we asked a lot of questions of Turd, and look, turning out for a good player. It's also good, as you mentioned, to see Elevate so competitive on a map that, honestly, I did expect Bleed to take quite comfortably. But now we get to move across to Elevate's map pick. And, I mean, yes, it is Bank. We have seen them play it quite frequently recently as well, Xenox. What do we think of the takeaways from Nighthaven Labs that could potentially transfer onto Bank?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult. I think that for me, going into this series, I said Bank. I felt confident for Elevate on that map, and I'm certainly by no means off of them from what we saw on Nighthaven Labs. If anything, that should instill more confidence. If you can be competitive on this map against Bleed, you can take that into Bank and feel as if you've got a real good foothold in this grand final. It does suck, though, mentally to be in a position where you're up 5-3, and then to ultimately then allow Bleed to win the final 4 rounds in a row. They should have been staring at an OT, I think, at minimum here. You go all the way back, opening 3 rounds, and they got all 3 of the opening kills. They could only convert once, and you're on defense labs. So really, it was kind of won and lost there. Their great work to start the second half and get those 2 attacking rounds, you know, kind of goes against the grain. If they had just done a bit more of the basics there in that first half, they could have won this outright, and we would have had a whole different storyline. You look at some of these numbers, and they're not that far off. Trade kills 5-6, multi-kills 7-9, plants 1-2. You know, the opening kills, they're equal. So the numbers aren't too bad when it comes to the side of Elevate, and that's something that they can take from a positive aspect going into Bank.
Now, obviously, you mentioned the players like Turd and Hoven. It's nice to see him kind of excel in a match like this. He was obviously quiet yesterday in his game against Fury, only an 85 EPS overall between the 2 maps. So definitely did not have the impact that we would have liked to have seen from him. Here, he stands up, he knows it's the grand final, he's got to perform, and he does do so. Mentalist, little cold down the bottom there, but that just tends to happen for leaders, Michael. It's always tough to expect a player that leads a team from the front to be able to back it up in a kill entry department. Anything outside of them really taking that leadership role, it's always looked at as an added bonus. But is that going to be enough when we go to a map like Bank?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good point to highlight. I think, at least in the past, a lot of IGLs have been given the concession that statistically they will lag behind the rest of the team. I think we have now entered a new era, at least in APAC, because it's probably happened in other regions for a little while now, where it's a more collective effort in terms of leadership and shot calling, and you can't really have somebody lagging behind. And that has been the case throughout the stage. Mentalist has a positive EPS across the stage and a +8 KD. So he has been doing well in the fragging department. Tonight is actually, you know, a bit of an off performance for him on that particular map. Now, again, that can come down to map and roles and operators, etc. So I'm not reading too heavily into it. But I do like the question that you've posed, right? Is that going to be enough going into the map pick of Elevate? Based on how Bleed have been performing and relying on him in the past, probably not. So be keeping a key eye on Mentalist to perform. And I'm also keeping a key eye on SpeakEasy, right? We highlighted him in the pre-show. We expected him to have another big performance tonight, and Elevate will be relying upon that. He did show up on Nighthaven Labs. It was just the extra 1%ers from Bleed that were able to get them across the line, and Elevate unable to produce that result or push in overtime. So I think, again, we've set the stage for a very competitive second map. I would have hated to have sat here after Bleed just demolishing them and trying to make a case for them to make a comeback in this series. I think they put their best foot forward and played really well into a very strong map for Bleed. And honestly, I think if they're being realistic, their expectation after the map veto probably should have been winning it in a 2-1 fashion. Anyway, that was probably their easiest route to victory, and Labs was a good opportunity to just warm up and get a vibe check.
Yeah, leaning into that conversation realistically of the 2-1 discussion, Xenox, obviously, you know, you and Guz both called it leaning into that first map. We see Bank as a near on bottom of the preference for Bleed. Does that inspire maybe a little bit of hope that they potentially have caught Elevate going to a map that they're just not showing at the moment?
Yeah, I think when it comes to Bleed, it's a similar discussion for those that watch Oceania where we talk about gaming gladiators, and it's like, doesn't matter what map you're going to take them to, they're probably going to be better than you on it. And that's a difficult conversation that you have to have as a team. But I think that in this instance, you go and look at the stage as a whole, we haven't seen Bleed play Bank so far. We have seen Elevate play Bank. That doesn't necessarily mean they've been super amazing on it, though. When you actually go and run some of the numbers for Elevate on Bank, it hasn't necessarily been like, oh my god, this is their map. You know, like they've beaten Fury on it 7-4, they beat Direwolves on it 7-5, and then they beat No Cap on it 7-5. So all three of those games, Rob, they've won them all. They haven't really smashed any of their opponents. You know, they're not looking like the Bank team by any means, but it is still a good body of work to have. They've played the map, they've won the map. Where they do a lot of their best work, Elevate, is on attack. So defense can be a little bit susceptible, and that's where Bleed could certainly just bring a lot of their fragging power. You think about Reaps, Hov, and Turd running around against that defensive Elevate on Bank, and that scares me a little bit. So, you know, there was someone that was asking before in chat, like, what's Bank going to be like for Elevate? And I think it should theoretically be better than Labs, but it's still Bleed. And therefore, you have to always give them the credits. This, to me, is a genuine 50-50. Good luck predicting this. I will say for Elevate, they played Labs a lot better than I thought they were going to play it. The fact they got it as close as they did. Don't forget, for those watching along at home, it was only like a week and a half ago that Bleed beat Elevate 7-0 on the Clubhouse. Kind of similar to that kind of Labs style where defense is hard. Defense is easy. So, yeah, I mean, improvement from Elevate on Labs, but Bank, it's an absolute toss-up.
Yeah, this is the problem now, is we now get into the unknown territory almost, guys, because it does become a little bit of a concern. We know what Bleed are like, and for me, you look at the wealth of knowledge, experience, and just overall power that Bleed have on their roster, right? Like, I'm by no means writing off Elevate, but in this storyline, realistically, at this juncture, we're looking at the fact that Bleed haven't touched Bank. It's their 8th preference in a map pool of 9. I guess I'm starting to skirt the edges of what have they been cooking up on this? You've got some of the biggest heads in the Asia League on this roster right now. You've got your leaders and you've got your mentalists. But then when you start to look behind the scenes as well, you've got someone who no one ever talks about, but we hear his name slightly shouted out every now and then. You've got Linda. And you've got Julio. I mean, like, you have some of the best and most creative minds in the entire region on one roster. They do not let that through. They do not let a map like Bank through unless they're prepared. I mean, am I crazy to say that?
Before Guz answers, it's a very, very quick one. Before Guz answers,
go.
Just went back, had a look. Stage 1, they didn't play Bank at all. So we're talking about entire body of work this whole year that we haven't seen Bleed play Bank in Asia.
Yeah, I mean, the decision between Bank and Cafe was really a toss-up statistically. In terms of preference, like, sure, 6th and 7th, but it was really tight. I suppose Bank has just been one that they've been able to hide for so long, as Jake has alluded to. I think we actually talked about this during the map veto. The biggest differentiating factor is just the sheer volume of VODs that are available here for Elevate. And as we continue to talk about Bleed, we're always, highlighting their support stuff, etc., the support network that they have, the resources that they can input into match prep. And so they would have combed through all of those VODs, will know exactly what all of their couple of setups are for every attack on every site and every defense on every objective. And so Elevate need to have reinvented the wheel a little bit here, because Bleed on even footing in terms of preparation will beat them, irrespective of how good Elevate play. That's just the reality. And we saw it there on Labs. Bleed are just able to beat them out on every occasion.
It's difficult. It's a very difficult coin to flip. It's not, I know I say a coin flip. It's obviously not going to be that. When it gets into the server, there's going to be a lot of competition. You're going to see a lot of work done by Bleed. But I've got to say, one of the big elements for me, Xenox, in this discussion, we kind of saw it a little bit for Elevate heading into their semi-final yesterday. They are able to adapt on the fly. Granted, it took them a little bit to understand how to play against the Blitz. Eventually, that kind of flip for them is really what changed that match against NoCap and pushed them into the grand final. So, like, it feels as though, like, even though I'm sitting here and I'm going into the Bleed camp, Elevate have actually shown a fair amount of grit, not only in their BO1s, but now in their BO3s.
Yeah, they certainly have. I think for Elevate as well, you know, they've worked so hard to get into this position where it's taken them a long time to get to this grand final, to have a shot to go to a major. They've always been third fiddle, sometimes even fourth fiddle, and it's always been this experimentation when you've got some of the UK lads coming in, etc. It's taken some time to get here, and I thought their labs was going really nicely, and then it all kind of fell apart. So they've kind of just got to look at this and say, we're going into bank here, we've got the resilience, we know what we've got to do here, we know it's going to be close, that we're not going to go into bank and suddenly just smash bleed 7-2, 7-3. If anything, like if I had to give you an exact prediction, I'm thinking like overtime 8-6, 8-7 to Elevate. That's the way I kind of view it. It's going to come down again to these small little moments. You think about first half labs, you know, it comes down to third round. I think it was control storage, tertiary site, 15 seconds left, and it was still a 5v5. You know, those are the moments you got to win. Bleed won. They won those kind of moments of labs. So you've got to find a way to now do that on your map pick, on bank, to give yourself a chance to go into the third map.
Well, let's keep it simple. Elevate. Their backs are against the wall. They're 1-0 down. We do go to their map pick, which fills us with a little bit more confidence. We head to bank with Pengu and Dev.
Hey guys, yes, it is time for map 2, and it could be the final map of the Asia League, as sad as that sounds. But I think that maybe Elevate will have something in store for us on bank. We saw it from them yesterday, even though it was a tight affair against NoCap. At the end of the day, though, we know what bleed we're talking about. These guys have been unreal, and to come back from what was a pretty grim scoreline at the 5-3 on Nighthaven Labs and still win it with that tactical timeout, it tells us so much about what we should expect out of Bleed. Now we're going into map 2. Bleed are yet to drop a single map in stage 2 of the Asia League. This is Elevate's last chance to break Bleed's streak and keep their dream of going to the Montreal Major alive.
Yeah, and if Elevate had the strats prepared that they did on Bleed's map pick of Labs, I expect them to do even crazier things or more well-prepared things on bank, which is there, of course, playground. Orbiter bands, we saw double shields last time, and Tubaro Kaid. Both teams having the exact same idea of what they wanted to get rid of, after they go very much hand in hand. Very different already, though. Grim being removed from action here. That's going to be Bleed's first operator. Munty by Elevate, so Blitz is open, Fuse is open.
He's in!
Yeah, let's see the Blitz gameplay. Whoa.
Yes. Oh, Reaps is trying to call Elevate's bands. This is such
I love
a
it.
like big dick move. Let's see. I got it right. Got it right.
No.
Up A's trying to fight back. If only Elevate could read the Bleed ban. Reaps is a genius. What are we banning? Mentalist is trying to bait it out. What's it gonna be?
Is it top? Is it something else?
Oh,
Valkyrie? I don't know.
Valk.
He wrote it after he did it.
I mean, if that exchange doesn't give you some insight into the mind games and also the camaraderie between these teams, I don't know what does.
Jesus. All right, so obviously Bang plays out quite differently than Nighthaven Labs. It's a lot bigger in terms of size. Bang follows one of my favorite map philosophies together with the old Consulate as well, where there are very few rooms, but come again?
You love old Consulate, man. We were
Did you
talking about this the other day.
Yeah, did you? Yeah, it was a great. I actually think it was a phenomenal.
All right.
I genuinely believe that.
We can debate the controversial hot take later. Let's hear your take on Bang first.
Whatever.
No,
I don't do it.
No, come on, please.
I don't want to do it. No.
Please, Pengy.
Okay.
Pengy, please.
Okay, listen. So, Bank currently in Old Consulate, they follow this philosophy of very few rooms, but very large in size. And it just feels less claustrophobic, that's all, okay? And I really enjoy that. And I think the more maps should do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. The one thing I really love about maps like Consulate, Bank, and Villa, which, by the way, Villa's been done dirty, been out of the pool too long, bring back my baby Villa, is every map needs rooms where the attack can get control more or less for free.
Yes.
Not many maps, new maps, like Lair has very few rooms like that. Like, even these, like, the buffer rooms, or the external rooms, like, on Lair, think about, what, operations? Ops, right? That is not free. That should be free. Like, the way that the map is structured, that's meant to be, like, your beachhead that you establish. But no, that's not free, because you can die a million different ways in there. Top square, this is meant to be, like, free for the attack. On Villa, it's like study is more or less like a free, or master free. Like there are these external rooms you can take control of. Consulate was the same. It's like CEO. You can't really play in CEO as a defender. And yeah, I feel like not many maps in the modern era of Siege really do that. And it's why Bank is actually my favorite map to play right now. I love Bank because you can roam, you can anchor, you can play about the hard breach, you can play about the shields, you can play smoke executes. All of the bomb sites are drastically different on this map, and you get to see so much variety in every single match of Bank.
I'm actually right there with you. You just listed like all of my reasons for why I also like the map and maps similar to it. And that's the old style of map design. I would like to say that we don't have that as much anymore, like you also mentioned. Right now, though, Elevate, they're making their attack upstairs, going for that full roam clear, of course, and Bleed they do their classic. We're gonna stab out for a short moment and fall straight back to the second layer. When pressure is too intense here in open area and elevator, they'll go fall back towards bomb site. So they're playing like an onion. They're taking it away layer by layer, slowly over time, and it's applying this pressure to Elevate side where they have to go fast enough, otherwise time will become an issue.
So far, it's been pretty decent progress. Oh, but the Tuber round's going to continue to delay that time, and this DMI is nasty. I think it's a good move that Hoven falls back there. And Bleed forfeit control of the map. Only a minute 20 into the round, which I think is actually reasonably slow. Elevate have immediately pounced on this. They haven't wasted any time whatsoever. We've got 3 players on the site, 1 in Garage. Where's the 5th here for Bleed? Okay, Reaps is playing aggressively at the top of the blue stairs. So essentially everyone falling back more or less to site.
There's the multiple win conditions, right? Player on silver stairs, gonna stop time. They're playing on open area and the elevator, and Reap, surprisingly enough, I thought he's gonna rip down that barricade and go back towards the side itself. He's gonna stick around and just burn more time, and also maybe go for a late flank if need be. We see that Elevate don't have that much interest towards server. They're on the hatches, they're open area. They've actually dropped the elevator right now. They're gonna go off-pace play.
Oh, and Shed's gonna find a pig. Is there gonna be a reswing here from Turtz? He doesn't want to reveal his position because there's a player involved as well. He goes for it, finds one, doubles down! Massive from Turnster. The trigger discipline ends up favoring him, and he finds another one. 4K on the round for Turnster, the cheeky rat in the corner. Fire up, young gunner. Bleed off to a flying start on Bank.
He was in a tough position. He knew that his responsibility was going to be twofold. He had to worry about the vault drop behind him and elevator drop in front of him. And if he doesn't pick the right timings, he will get shot in the back, or he will sell his teammates. And Turd somehow find the perfect time to strike, finding both kills to deny the initial entries, and that stopped the entire back push. Then he can just look towards the bomb site itself and find 2 more picks in the round. I gotta say though, Elevate, they made the right move. They went for an off-pace play. And what that means is they're going before it makes sense for their opponent to bleed. Because if you're bleeding around, you think, okay, they're gonna drone the side, they're gonna maybe take, server stairs control first, take down Reaps, then they're gonna execute. No. With 50-something seconds left, Elevate, they drop down the hatches, we go out of nowhere into the bomb site, and they only failed because Turd found 4 kills, and probably 3 of those 4 he had no business getting. Yeah. So Elevate might have lost the round, but I think they played it really well.
Yeah, one of those was technically an injured player, but still, I think that's pretty impressive.
Or was he injured? Okay,
the one involved, I was injured, because I'm just looking at the scoreboard now. It says Turd's got 3 kills, but I definitely saw 4 times in the kill feed. So that guy involved must have been injured, but I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, right? He was of astronomical impact in that round. And we talked so much about Turdster as, not necessarily for the right reasons this stage, but man, he is firing on all cylinders. In the first map, he went 12-6, so if we count that Inja finish off as a kill, then he's 16-6 right now. That is a massive scoreline, having only seen 13 rounds so far in this series.
Seems like first half of the stage Turdster is the mean dog that's just been getting bonked, and then the second half Turdster is the Giga Chat Doge. That's like, he's doing so much better. And I think for him, there was the whole after EWC minus Turdster plus Turdster, he was getting dropped and then retrialed. I think it's been a very big learning lesson for him. He is still a young player, and he's a phenomenal player. But everyone has their weaknesses, and if you don't look upon yourself internally and do some reflection, and think to yourself, like, what can you do about these situations? You're not gonna get better. So I think it was a really good play by Bleed to say, hey, reality check time. Turret, like, you think you're this hot deal, and you are, but you're not worth to keep around if you don't change. And he has changed. He plays more utility, he plays less stupid, if you will, takes less risk, takes more calculated risks, and he supports his teammates so much better than last stage, I would argue.
Maybe the best player to fill Turd's role was in fact Turd after all. Now he's here contesting with this ACOG site. It's a castle, he's not over-peaking here, he knows his role. He doesn't want to lose his life here to an over-aggressive Kali on these repels. MC's done a pretty solid job so far, and he is so close to seeing Turdster. Oh, in top square, if you look in the pip in the right-hand corner of your screen,
toasted.
I think that's very cheeky. Eventually, there is a nice usage there of the firebolts from Shed to make sure that Turdster will not survive. And that's a little bit of headway made by Elevate.
This is the difficulty of CEO. You have typically 3 or 4 defenders just stuck in corners. Turret was stuck in the corner, leaders instead of elevator also stuck. You don't have a lot of space to work with because of the repels from outside the building. Yeah, they got the castle and keep barriers, but the first thing Elevator did was peel off all that utility with the Kali. It's a great operator pick up there with the Kali, 35 seconds, on the side. Oh, the Maestro Cam and the Free Fire gets the first kill. That's the Gout Diffuser.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a mistake there. I don't know what Elevate are planning on doing about it. Now, they have countered that Evil Eye, at least for a brief moment, and the plant will start to go down, whereas the Denial, there's a C4 in hand here for Mentalist, but it doesn't seem to have landed as of yet. Ape finds his pick, and the coverage is here for Elevate. Shed's had a phenomenal round. Leaders coming back to the rescue now, up from Banana, as Mentalist tries to clean things up here from Janitors. The information from the Evil Eye back online, but this is an awkward spot now. Going for that defuse seems like suicide now, but Mentalist will have to give it a crack and hope that Leader can cover him. 3 players left for Elevate, all of which just focusing on trying to deny this plan, and Mentalist finds one before being traded. It is essentially a done deal now. Leader has no choice but to jump outside or forfeit the round, and it seems to be the latter. MC will secure it with the sniper, and Elevate pull off a pretty impressive attack onto that top floor of Consulate. Oh, Bank, what am I talking about? You're in my head! You're in my head, Bangu!
We love these maps! We love Consulate!
Your love of Consulate has crawled into my mind.
Hey, earlier you said, hey, first map is Bang, but we're showing Nighthaven maps. You're like, wait a second.
I'm full of great wrong ideas tonight, aren't I?
Yeah, I mean, 2 wrongs make a right, and you've achieved that right now, right?
Okay.
There was the first call, the second call, and now you're just good.
So now I'm all right. Now, no more wrongs, though. That's for the rest of this cast, no more wrongs.
No, I'll take those upon me. Anything you do now, I'll use my spare to equalize, okay?
Is that like, I don't know if you guys have this in Denmark, but in Australia, when you have like a driving infringement in your car, not that you would know, by the way, you don't drive.
Yeah, I don't have a license,
we
fair.
get demerit points, which means like you've done a bad thing. So like you speed, you might get 2 demerit points. And when you get a certain number of demerit points, you lose your license. So,
we have that.
So, yes, okay. So what some people do, and I'm not condoning this, but what some people do is they'll, like if they commit infringement, they'll say, oh, it was actually my wife driving or my friend driving. And then that person takes the demerit points for them so that they can keep their license.
Wow.
Is that what you're suggesting that you're doing with me? Like if I make any more mistakes, you're going to like take the demerit points for me, are you?
I will take the points as long as it doesn't cost me my casting license. You know, like I'll take it to the edge, but not above it. Because in Denmark, it's 3 strikes and you're out.
You're
and
out,
based on the severity of what you're done, you just lose your license on the spot. It's over. And if you do crazy stuff, they take the car too.
Look, if we had a 3-strike and you're out casting license situation, I think I'm probably on my last strike, and I can tell you some of our colleagues are definitely all out of second chances.
I think there might have been a certain, third place match earlier today where a couple strikes have been given, maybe, but
Yep.
I had a blast watching that, to be fair. Just listening to people lose their minds while they're working, because I'm losing my mind, not working it, right? I can just laugh about it. I think it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, phenomenal.
They did good, though. They did good.
They did. It was very entertaining and very long BO3, and now I'm hoping that we get an entertaining and long BO3 out of this one, but to be honest, after Bleed made that comeback happen after the tactical timeout in map 1, I started to lose a bit of hope, but Bleed are being pushed here by Elevate. I mean, we just saw a very nice attack from them, and they're shaping up for another one.
We've seen the Abe special. One of the only players that I've seen in Asia actively play the Nook operator with a pretty high frequency. Usually in every single game they've played, he plays it like 1 round or so. This is that one. He's gonna walk around the map with the gadget on. Nook got buffed recently. Your gadget meter only gets drained when you're actively being spotted by a camera. So he knows A, when he's being spotted, and 2, he can just walk around forever if he isn't being spotted. Lead have to be very cautious right now and keep their guns up. Good thing for them, they have 5 defenders still left alive. They should be covering all their bases. There's not that many ways in towards this bomb site. Main breach, this closet, and the double door. Jet finds opening as Mentalist. That's a great start for Elevate.
And MC, I don't know if he's been heard here. Reaps on the other side of it. Needs to time this peak right. Reaps is holding it, but MC wins the fight regardless. That's a big opener now for Elevate. 2 players in advantage. Even though they struggled at breaching that staff room wall, they have found a way into this round.
The stall out here. Expecting maybe an aggressive pushback from Bleed. I'm not entirely certain, but Elevate get into the right positions. They're still up above, spread very thin. They need to get back together and trade those bodies. We just saw Defender actually stuck in the blue staircase. Turtsa is way off the bomb side.
Yeah, and here comes the entry. Turtsa is the only one left now, flanking from bottom square. He was banking on the fact that they would push from this side. Now he's revealed his position. 5 angry Elevate players hunting him down. Shed confirms it with that DMR on the buck. Massive round from Elevate as they take the lead.
And they're just everywhere. Like literally, there was 5 attackers being very much isolated on their own, but they won 2 separate 1-versus-1 engagements, and when that happens, you own the entirety of the map. Bleed, they had the bomb site, which is great for the defenders, of course, and they had server stairs control with a barricaded door. They can't do anything with that. This gunfight out here on the main staircase, it ruins the entire thing for Bleed. Now they have to watch 4 or 5 separate angles, only 2 people on the side, and they've called their tactical timeout after the first 3 rounds being played.
Oh, here's the tactical timeout. I'm just going to do a little bit of breaking the fourth wall here, Pengu, because I just typed into our chat with the other casters and the production team. I said, I tell you what, Elevate's looking pretty scary, but I can't wait for them to go up 6-3 and then Bleed take a tactical timeout and win 5 rounds in a row. I've called it a little bit early, but Bleed have taken their tactical timeout. And if what we saw earlier today on Nighthaven or what we saw yesterday against Fury is anything to go by, this is where Bleed run away with it.
It seems like the same story again, right? I really appreciate the fact that Bleed, they're calling it this early in the round or in the map and not waiting for it to really fall apart. Because every single time we see this happen, it's like they're playing sloppy, they're not playing the right way, they're like disrespecting the opponent, thinking it's too easy, and then it's bang, snap back to reality, actually play the game correctly, and be proactive in the server. When they call a typical timeout, they often also change their operator lineup, either from aggressive to passive or vice versa. It's always a really big change. We already see stuff like the Echo come into play, for example, 2 Brow. So they recognize Bleed, or sorry, Elevate rather, being very slow on their attack inside, and not accomplishing a whole lot besides getting kills. If they can peel back the layers again and play passive, Elevate won't have the kills, and they'll just have to brute force the side with little utility.
All right, well, we've had our little tactical timeout with Coach Pengu in the chat. Thank you, Pengu, for dialing in there.
You're welcome. I'll send you my PayPal later on tonight. You can just send
I can't afford your coaching rates.
Hey, you get the friend discount, okay?
Oh, okay.
20% off, only $2,000 now, okay? We can go for that one.
What about a packet of Tim Tams? Have you had Tim Tams before?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, mate, you need some Aussie education then. Yeah, okay. How about this? I'll pay you back in Tim Tams next time we're working an event together. And,
okay, Tim Tams,
yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad that I have just saved myself $2,000.
So the Australian bias and the Asian podcast, no big deal.
What is that? Hoven, I can't believe he finds 1 kill by the skin of his teeth there as Ape comes in for a slightly belated trade. Look, Shed going down is not great. He's been actually quite a fragger in this map, and he's also a behemoth of utility with that Capital. But Hoven as well, like that's a very key position to trade through. Turtsa finds one on an NI count. What a shot there. This guy is deadly with that Vector. I tell you what, there's a good reason why people ban the Goyo against Bleed. Turtsa is a fiend.
straight back to the corner he was in previously, getting that 4K, and this is actually a very comfortable position for Bleed to be in. Whether it's 4v4 or 3v3, this is exactly what they wanted, right? As long as they don't give up map control for free by just losing individual gunfights, they're happy. And they've actually not just equalized in the 4v4, they got a numbers advantage. NIKL also died shortly after Shed got taken out. So now Elevate, they gotta go to plan B, go to plan C, EMP out the Warden, maybe go for some Ingadillas, try and take him down.
Oh, the Candelas aren't going to do a lot on the Warden. Oh, wait, no, the EMP deactivates the glasses. You're a bloody genius.
Exactly.
And the EMP is still active, but he hasn't been flashed, and there's only a few seconds remaining of that EMP. Still 3 Candelas in pocket.
One more to go.
And no more EMPs to go. Here comes the flash, but the EMP comes through at the perfect timing. That is beautiful from Elevate. How often do you see that? Almost never do we see the Warden countered by that EMP from the Thatcher, but Elevate have a few tricks up their sleeve that not even Bleed are ready for.
Yeah, and Leader died as well, so all of a sudden they lose 2 people at the same time. 3 toxic players still going out, Courier Fire as well. With only 30 seconds left, they can stall this out for Bleed. Elevate, they might have to push aggressive here and go for a really risky play. Actually, never mind. Linton is using a second hate. That's gonna now open up a timing situation. Elevate could still go for a plant, but it's still gonna be risky. If one thing goes wrong, that's gonna be the round for Bleed.
We need MC to be big here, but he goes down, turns to again saving the round for Bleed. What a holdout on the bomb side from these 2 players. The Vulcan fire, the gas from the smoke, and Tursa to bring some life into it with the Vector. That was unbelievable.
Base and bomb side plus third equals very good results. I mean, he's gotten... it might be every single kill, actually, that he has so far. He got 3 in the first one, and I think he had 4 kills after getting the kill on Elevator. So Turd is amazing downstairs and kind of mid everywhere else so far. Because remember, he was playing Castle and CEO, he died to a Captain Fire. Then he was playing Oryx on open area on server staircase and died in a 1v5. Yeah, he's gotten every single kill in base and bomb side.
Everyone's talking about what
Six
Jake's got
kills.
going on downstairs.
No. That's not where I was going with that. Oh man. I'm curious how. Oh, okay, I was gonna say I'm curious how Leader died, but I just saw it. When those 2 players of SpeakEasy and Abe, they dropped the hatch, they were fighting. Leader was playing by the A bombsite chassis, so that's how he died. Actually.
Oh right, I see. Yeah, I tell you what. One thing we don't often see is that Vulcan fire that's actually on the door from CCTV to Red Hallway. That is a cheeky
That's
one.
true.
Usually the Vulcans are used for plant denial, but these days when you don't have enough time to go for that plant because of the Vulcans and because of the smokes, you have to go deep, and that Vulcan protects against the push deep. So beautiful. Like, Bleed have it all figured out, man. They got an answer for everything, even though, as you said, Mentalist sacrificed one of his gas babes to allow a little timing to open up by putting one deep. That opened up the... Okay, wait a second. Shed has just jumped straight on in and found 1 kill and 1 down to Leader. That is... Yeah, I mean, that's big. I don't know if he's going to be able to finish him off. Maybe with the Twitch drone? Probably not.
Very positive couple of rounds for Leader, though. Like, Echo last round dies way too early, now on the Maestro as well, and this entire bomb side of Akko's killer is heavily placed around open area, and with that early confusion for Bleed, they've lost a lot of map control trying to salvage that round and revive Leader. Now Elevate, they're attacking Lobby, they're breaking about those castle barricades, they've already gotten a kill, almost 2. You can tell that Bleed are very antsy right now on the server, right? They're looking, swinging for gunfights, they recognize that this is very quickly falling apart from a strategical point of view. They have to go for kills now.
But Reaps is still trying to hold onto his position here in front desk. Shed has just gone unbelievable this game. I want to know what he ate for breakfast. He finds the opening kill, he gets it down to Leader, and then eventually he comes back for more, finishes what he started with Leader, and also takes down Mentalist. Dirtster can finally get something. Ape was in the site and still exposed himself. Now Shed's the one with Diffuser. Man, get this guy off with the Diffuser and get him into the fight. Reaps was above. There's information here thanks to those evil eyes on that bomb site from Leader. And the plant will try to be denied. There are yellow pings. Maybe there is a possibility here for Bleed. However, the coverage from up above forces Reaps to focus up on what's going on his floor. Meanwhile, that plant can be confirmed. However, Bleed have snuck their way back into this. Reaps with a kill, and Turster now to recompose, sneaking his way back into open area. Him and Reaps in opposite positions, but Reaps finds a second. Suddenly this game is back into the realm of possibility. Turster forcing that diffuser as Reaps has to be the one to cover, but beautiful Vert. No holes needed. And Elevate can lock out the rounds. Another solid attack from them, once again on the back of Shed.
It's so close, way too close for comfort. I gotta say, both teams having a beautiful downstairs back and forth. Bleed, they have upstairs control. They try to deny the plant. They can't quite find the right player, but they do get a pick. Then, in the post plant, Bleed recognize, hey, we have to now walk into the bomb site and give up the verticality, which opens things up for Elevate to retake up for the post plant. So, we see Shed planting, being above, being below. He's everywhere. They're making a lot of movements on the map. And it goes to show just how comfortable Elevate they are on Bank. Because if you don't have really accurate drone information, you shouldn't feel as safe as they are on the attacking side. So they must just have a plethora of intel to make these aggressive decisions.
Bomb located by attackers.
Well, Bleed, they've used that tactical timeout. It got them one round. It was not the spring of, what was it, 3 or 4 or 5 rounds they got in a row on Nighthaven.
All the rounds.
Yeah, they found 4 rounds in a row at the end of Nighthaven after they got their tactical timeout. I can't remember how many they got in a row after being 6-3 down to Fury yesterday on Clubhouse. But I think it was about 5 rounds that they managed in a row after that tactical timeout. Only 1 here consecutively. And now they're the ones fighting from behind, just looking to tie the half as they round out their defense.
See what they're gonna keep doing here, because again, it's about adaptation. We're seeing Bleed go to a little bit more of an aggressive lineup. Scope pose, the mute, the Astami. And go for aggressive swings. The mute jammers keep the roamers alive and deny those Togepi phone calls if placed outside the bomb site. Curious about Turt though. He's had a great time on basic bombs on Goya, like we mentioned earlier, but I want to see him be a bit more proactive. When he's given freedom, he usually finds a lot of value in the round. It seems like on most of the sides, though, he's kind of locked into a very specific point map and can't quite move around as much as he would like to. Scobo should be different here.
Yeah.
Great bit of vert there and self-destruction coming out. Don't recall as well. Not sure what the plan is.
A little bit of ground taken here by Elevate. So they start to put the pressure in from the ground floor and the top floor simultaneously. Ape on this vert. 3 C4s on the board. Bleeders is actually already deployed. I'd love to know where that C4 is. It hasn't been detonated as of yet, but I'm pretty sure, judging by the UI, that one is already in the field placed. I assume, okay, there's the detonation. It must have been Intel, as that's an unfortunate mistake there with the Candela from SpeakEasy, but not the end of the world. MC, oh, he's going to catch Reaps with his pants down. What is Reaps doing? That's your mute, that's your flanking operator on the main stairs. A big one to lose.
And again, Bleed, they don't own enough of the map to actually make these decisions, and not enough intel to either know what is actually safe. And that's the Valkyrie ban that Bleed themselves opted for. You see the overlay right now, there are 3 people on the site, and the Mirror and Archives Tellers, they have no control. Ooh. There's 60 seconds left, final call goes through. That's a Scopus UI, by the way.
Wow.
Gotta answer that one, you can't quite take a gunfight, because you are a robot, remember? So, it's not just the cameras that get obscured, it's your actual vision.
Oh, the pressure is coming in from Elevate now. Shed wants to come to
waiting for stuns.
What is the play here?
Stun, stun, go, go.
Maybe an opening kill to boot. There's always the possibility for Turster to go for a big flank here as well with that Scopos. MC just misses his chance, and Mentalist comes in with the backstab. On the side though, it's an absolute calamity for Bleed. And all of his left is Mentalist here. Now he goes up above. This 1 versus 4 becomes a 1v3, and he needs to try and deny this plant with 18 seconds left to play, and they should be covering off his position. He's low HP, there's a drone on it as well. And I think this is the end of the line for Mentalist. Elevate have looked unreal on their attacks of Bank. And you can take that to the bank. A 4-2 split on their map pick as we move into the second half. Elevate looking fiery.
What, there's like 4 plants by my count at this point? That's 4 out of 6 attacks where the bomb goes down. And of course, to no surprise, they win every single one of those. Bank is one of those phenomenal post-plant maps where you can play from either far outside the building, or on the verticality above or below the side. And it's been exactly the kind of performance that we're expecting Elevate because they chose this map. Now, Bleed, they choose the starting side. They opted to go on defense first. Historically, Bank has been an attacker-favorite map for longer than anything else. I am curious if this was intentional by Bleed. Get the defense over with, get, your 1-2, if you're really good, maybe 3 rounds, and then go on the favorable side. Because now you can argue that if Bleed do believe this to be attacker-sided, the pressure is kind of off of their shoulders. Now the game gets a whole lot easier for them. But with how good Elevate's prep work has been so far on the first map and now here in Bank as well, I don't think they're just gonna fall over. I think they're gonna fight it all the way till the bitter end. Yeah. And with the current performance, this should be an Elevate overtime or regulation victory.
5 seconds to insertion.
Oh, if Bleed still had that attack timeout in pocket, I would still be like, I think Bleed have got this, but can they flip that switch without a tactical timeout? Remains to be seen. Those defenses at the end of that half did not look too pretty. Had ideas, but Elevate were too convincing on their attack. Now we see the flip of the sides, and if you want to talk about momentum breakers, this could be one of them. But Bleed now have to go onto the offensive, and with rattled confidence, it's difficult to do so. Reaps is as keen as ever. He gets in the building 30 seconds in. Right, droning a little bit of information up on that top floor. There is an army keeper barrier. There is a player in Janitor's Closet, is there not? Up, swing at a moment's notice. I don't think they're respecting it, but they're just going to rush on in. This is their mini execute to try and take hold of open area. A spray through the wall. Reaps finds his double. Wow. N-High-Cal and Up, the flash, and MC peeks through it regardless, but Mentalist has traded it. That leaves it just onto Shed and SpeakEasy. What an aggressive way for Bleed to get into that site and rip into that roam.
It's beautiful. It's a very big investment, but they had to. It was very committed roam by the opponent. And it's that, you said it, mini execute, right? If you can do that correctly, you can win the round off the roam clear. But on the same time, though, if you had lost those engagements, it's on the flip side. Elevate would survive, they fall back to side, you're completely locked out of it. And now we see the stalemate. Bleed, they know. Elevate, they have one way to win this, is to get aggressive, go for a flank, and take down fight engagements and winning them. So they're just holding angles, putting down flank drones. Yep, their assumption was correct. There is in fact Shed, very aggressive at 10 kills, by the way, on the main staircase. So now they're gonna dedicate one player or a drone to watch his position. And then the other 3 players can work the hatches, the soft destruction, they can join servers, and they can spend the next 30-40 seconds on just deciding, hey, what kind of attack do we want to go for? And it looks like server. Hatch has been popped open, until he's rotating downstairs, he's gonna pop the default wall.
Rounds like this, 2v4 for Elevate, are the equivalent of like your ecos in some other esports. Elevate should lose this round. Bleed just have to play things right. And that means that if Elevate can find that aggressive opening, if they can exploit a weakness, it bodes very grimly there for Bleed. Reaps very rarely makes mistakes. Now Mentalist forcing that diffuser down, but it is denied and he has to rotate out. Now Bleed have to send someone else up over onto these hatches to try and disrupt. Looks like they're going to aggressively try and reposition above these hatches. Multiple players. Mentalist with the diffuser as well. He's not going for a default plant. They want to go deep. And in go the smokes. Is there a way to pierce through these smokes? I'm not sure there is. Still a C4 available. Shed finds another one onto Leader. This is now a 2 versus 2. And the advantage has flipped. Another kill for SpeakEasy. Turnster cannot do a damn thing. He's locked out of the site. And all he can find is a few baited kills. The question mark in the chat. Elevate, fire up!
Oh my god, I mean, it falls apart. We're saying how easy it is. All you gotta do is not make those mistakes, not overcommit to anything. Just like sit down and wait and burn down the utility if you're Bleed, right? You breach server wall, you walk in, Goify gets popped, you wait 20 seconds. You walk in, they smoke it, you wait 10 seconds. They could have just played a very calm and relaxed round. But guess what? 2 separate attackers, they die on the corner hatch, having no idea there's a mirror Shed being so aggressive beneath it. And it's funny because you take back the clock like 30-40 seconds, we saw Bleed respecting the aggression, expecting a flank on main staircase. That was the same guy. That was also Shed. Then they forget about his aggression 30 seconds later, and 2 separate people die, like we saw in the replay. That's Bleed completely trolling what should have been a free round off a phenomenal roam clear.
Yeah, cannot believe that. I mean, look at these reactions. Shed Up and NHiCal are getting fired up, and for a second there, SpeakEasy was just absolutely zoned in as he finished up that clutch. Yeah, wow. I mean, I said this on map 1 when it was a 5-3 scoreline in favor of Elevate, which, by the way, they didn't win any more rounds from that point. But I'm impressed by Elevate. I mean, this is, I think, the best Elevate that we've seen. I don't know if you would agree, but I feel like we haven't seen an Elevate this good, maybe ever. Like, not since this Reformation, since they got rid of the Thai roster and they brought in this haphazard mix of players from all kinds of other teams. And, yeah, I mean, what a performance from Shed, by the way. Guy has a 4.0 KD at the moment. He's unreal. Like, this guy is usually a bit of a support player, and he has been absolutely farming.
You see that fire on the ground and SpeakEasy in half HP?
Did he
I
just
wonder what
detonate?
happened there.
Did he detonate a Goyo canister?
It could, in theory, have been a Twitch drone very quickly in the round, but it happened so early that I don't know if it was. I think he might have shot on accident or something, because it was like 10-15 seconds into the round that he took that damage, so I'm not sure exactly what happened, but they lost the canister. Iggy's low on HP. Unlucky.
Tell you what, Twitch Pick's not bad up against the Capcan and the Goyo. Capcan's now been spotted, the trap's taken down. Here comes the Logic Bomb. Bleed love their pacey rounds. They like to get very quick with it. They're going for this mini execute. Bleed should start to feel claustrophobic, especially after losing Arpe. That was their pivotal roamer. Is there a flanker? There is indeed! Shed!
Oh, Turd.
He's found his 13th kill with only 3 deaths in this map. And Turdster goes down. Ooh. What do you do now, Bleed? Just focus up on the side or try and hunt down that pesky roamer?
See, the issue is they have one smoke canister in the pocket of Mentalist that can cut off the rotations on the bomb side and maybe try and go for a plant, but then you got the 2 toxic babes, one just being spent from MC. So Bleed, they have this plan of they want to go fast, fast, fast. They keep being met by time-denying operators like the smoke and the Goyo that directly counters what they want to accomplish. So, Turd going down very early, not great, but somehow Leader finally gets a kill. It's his second so far in this game on the 8th round. Coming way too late, but maybe at the right time.
Yeah, but if you just hold your breath for a second, Shed has found one peeking aggressively outside the stock windows, and that's enabled NHiCal to now retake here. Has he been heard? Hoven's right around this corner, miffs his first spray, and Leader there confirms that Hoven finds the other kill. Bleed maybe should have lost that round. There was a moment there where Elevate looked they could have brought it back, but Bleed recompose, steady on. It's a long way towards finishing this game, still trailing behind by 2 rounds, but Bleed have shown us that they do finally have some teeth on their attack.
It's very sloppy from Bleed though, no? Like, okay, the first, minute and a half, very good from them. They get in fast, they get map control, they get a pick, but then they don't watch the flank on lobby. Turd dies, and they look very locked out of that entire round until Leader somehow just finds a kill, and then thankfully also takes down Shed that was going for that aggressive flank. It doesn't look like Bleed are the ones fully in control, however. And that's the big thing from the usual games. This is Elevate making a couple of mistakes or losing some crucial gunfights that Bleed can then, capitalize off of. It's not Bleed saying, hey, we're the better team, we're gonna do step 1, 2, 3, and then we're just gonna win at the end. They try and do one, they get countered. They answer back with this chaotic, messy playstyle, and it works out for them, just barely. Leader not consistent enough in my mind right now on the attacking side to convincingly take these rounds from Elevate.
10 seconds left before insertion.
It's very strange to see Leader not punching high numbers, because this is the 5th highest rated player in the entire league, by the way. Only behind Reaps, Hoven, Kutche, and funnily enough, Pika. The Bleed have, looked maybe their roughest that we've seen from them in a couple of months here in this map right now. The Reaps has snuck on inside. Oh, late flank. Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's pre-opened. The late round setup. The castle barricade's dismantled. It's Tellers, of course, this bomb site. This did not work out so well for Bleed when they defended it. By far the least popular bomb site on this map, but both teams feeling like they need to flex out their bomb site pool on bank here. get the upper hand on defense.
I mean, one better time than the grand finals to flex all four sides and show how versatile you are as a team. Same with Bleed, but we finally see them kind of give in to the fact that Blitz has been left open this entire time, then actually play a shield operator on the attack. Now, Argos Telos is very awkward to play because the side itself is completely unplayable. It's all about playing open area, playing top floor, so you're kind of playing it like a CEO defense, except you're not fighting with your life for the bomb site, you're fighting for your life to hold the bomb site vertically. It can be very tricky because those rappel angles outside the building that Bleed can utilize. They're being very slow right now. I mean, look at Shed, he's just freely moving around, not fearing the windows, Mentalist in the blitz, still outside the building. He jumps out! Hello?
Is that worth it though against the Ram? I mean, with how Shed's been farming so far, 15 kills to 5 deaths, I don't know if it is worth it. Mentalist has been injured, and like we finished off in a brief moment, once SpeakEasy realizes what's gone down, and okay, yeah, this is not a good look now for poor Bleed, as Leader is desperately just trying to mook his way upstairs, and MC's shut him down. I mean, this is a ticket to map point here for Elevate.
That's what I'm saying. Bleed don't know that they're the ones in control. When Elevate make mistakes, that's when Bleed they win the attack and rounds. They're not in charge right now. Mentalist alone the bomb site, dies a split, they get jumped out on. Sure, there's a claymore, but like, how is it even allowed? This one here could be good though. The frost mat though, no!
Poor Reeves.
Hit by the frost mat. Oh man.
Frost mat into a boss G shot. Don't even know what to say about that one. Turdstup forcing his plant down. I mean, this would be a way to redeem a crazy round. A 1v3. He finds his second one. A little bit of shots through the vert. He can't find a safe haven. It's a low HP. He's got to worry about that vert. He's also got to worry about MC. I mean, 2 players on that vert for Elevate. To easily retake there. Yeah, poor Turdstup. He had to 1v4. He made it look possible, but Elevate refused. And believe it or not, they found map point. 3 map points before them. As Bank is seeming like a convincing Elevate map.
So the thing about going from best of 1s into best of 3s is that fatigue is not something you have to take into consideration when you play a series. You can give 110% energy in those, like, you know, 12 to 15 rounds or whatever in a regular best of 1. In a best of 3, if you give it your all on the first or second map, but you go to the third, you're gonna be out of steam, completely out of energy. So I really hope for Bleed here that they've not underestimated Elevate and that they're gonna be running on fumes. Because they are here to play. Now Bleed, they are much more experienced, of course. Playing internationally, playing longer series, playing best of 3s, etc, etc. But Elevate on Bank has been a completely different story than we saw in Nighthaven Labs. They are dictating every single move that Bleed is making, more or less, right now. And Bleed's not been able to kind of adapt to the situations in front of them. Now, Consulate plays very differently from Bank, which plays very differently from Nighthaven Labs. And Consulate is that third and deciding map, so anything can change when you go to a new playground. But it has been a very concerning look so far, I would say, especially for Leader as an individual player. He's sitting on 3 and 8, and you can say he's playing support operators and all these things, but I'm not worried about Leader's scoreboard. I'm worried about the ways of which he has died. On Echo, dying before using the Joker drones. On Maestro, dying before even putting down on his utility. He seems a little bit lost in the server of like what his purpose or what his position is going to be, or what his job is to cover.
Just to add to the conversation, if we get to Consulate, every round that Bleed gets matters here, Pengu, because Consulate is a very defensive favored map. And whoever starts on attack or defense will be determined by whoever has a better round difference across the first 2 maps. And the first map, Elevate found 5 rounds here, Bleed have only found 3. Which does mean that Elevate are technically currently in the hot seat. If they are to win this map, they will get the favored choice on Consulate.
See here. Now when you're facing match point, especially on the attack, your risk assessment can change very drastically. Taking that risk, going for that play, all of a sudden might seem like the wrong play to go for. And that's going to be a problem if Bleed find themselves doubting their instincts. Because these gaps are maybe 6 each. Going for a backstab, going for a gunfight. You hesitate for 1 second, and it can be a very favorable spot. It goes very negative against you. It's been half the round almost already. A lot of droning right now, especially for Reaps on that Twitch, popping Goyo canisters, preparing the bomb site that execute later on. we gotta see the entries in that roam clear be successful first. You can't attack the site unless you clear the map, and that first step has not yet fully been accomplished. Actually, I guess it's not for them. They've all fallen back. They have a soft timer in their own minds saying, hey, at 1 minute 30 or so seconds, we don't need to care about the roam any longer, despite playing the Vigil. They deem that worthy. They got 1 C4, they got 3 Toxic Babes, and Blue Fire. Not a ton of plant deny, but it might be enough because of how slow Bleed has been.
Oh, is there an angle here? Reaps needs to try and hold on and ideally find a player rotating or moving through the site. It is very late in the round, and Bleed, well, they are finally breaching onto this wall. Like, my question remains, like, how much time can be burnt here by these 3 smokes, by this 1 C4 from the shed, and by, of course, the Vulcan fire? It needs to start getting burnt now. Here comes the first smoke. And is Hoven going to drop here? The flash. The breach is finally opened up. That mirror made it delay a little bit of time, and Mentalist is once again locked out. He tried to go for it. The second smoke goes through, and the third smoke. Mentalist is somehow planting! A missed smoke!
It's free.
It could cost Bleed the game! Eventually, the plant goes down, and, well, Bleed are unfortunately able to recompose now. SpeakEasy taken down. What is this post plant? The coverage, the crossfire, it's perfect! And it's easy for Bleed. I thought for a second that Bleed wouldn't be able to get that plant off, but they somehow snuck their way in there, and Elevate going to be kicking themselves right now.
2 things that happened that really changed the outcome of that and broke all of our expectations. The first one is Reaps popped all the Goyo canisters for the default plant spot in the very beginning of the round. That meant that Goyo fire completely irrelevant. However, as you noted, the 3 Toxic Babes and the singular C4 should be enough to stall for those remaining 35 seconds. And it would have been, except SpeakEasy, who was playing the smoke, he stacked the Toxic Babes. You gotta throw one, let it expire, throw another. That's the first issue. The second issue is, he missed them. He missed 2 of them. The first smoke stalled for 12 seconds or so, and then mentally started planting right next to the smoke because it was a missed throw. And that's why Elevate didn't see 4. Because in their mind, with the Toxic Babe going out, you shouldn't be able to plant. But if you miss that pixel spot when you're throwing that lined up angle, well, you're not gonna know unless you have intel, and they didn't have any intel. So they gambled it, no C4 went out, they couldn't risk it, they paid the price because the bomb went down.
So they lost the round with that C4 still in pocket, essentially.
Yes, they did.
So there's a bit of an age-old debate, and it doesn't have as much conversation these days because we don't have the same meta that we used to have. Like, the Bank is a lot more dynamic, but I feel like it's still a relevant question. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? What do you do first in the plant style? The C4 or the smokes, right? Because the C4, if that lands, that actually gets you a kill.
My personal favorite is, of course, if you play the bones up multiple times, you change it. You do a smoke into a C4 into a smoke. You don't just go C4, C4, C4 or smoke, smoke, smoke. You change it up because they work very differently, right? If you're gonna shoot a C4 mid-air, that's doable. But if it's a Toxic Babe flying at you, much more difficult. And then, of course, the biggest thing, you pre-rip the C4 and you wait there the entire time. Because if they hear the rip, they'll go off the plant, you'll miss it, and you don't even get the kill. So you throw a smoke, pre-rip C4, wait for the smoke to disappear, then throw C4.
Now, perhaps something that Elevate are going to be kicking themselves about, because they definitely could have denied that. What a shot there from Leader!
What?
That was a read and a half. I don't know if he had information the player was going on that rotation, but he's just wallbanged MC into oblivion. And now Elevate are fighting from behind. There has been the back door left ajar here in this match. The Elevate, they thought that they were secure, and Bleed have pushed their way back into it.
We've seen Bleed have these like small leads in the past and either slow down so much and lose the utility, or they just wait for so long that they get too impatient and somebody along the way makes an individual mistake becoming overly aggressive. That was Reaps on that basement attack where he just peeked it as the IQ and died for no reason. You see a pre-play C4 downstairs. Hurt. We've been praising him. The scanner of IQ, finding, the utility pieces. The C4 was popped, didn't find any kills, so they're gonna be okay for now. And that's Elevate slowly losing their different kind of comeback ways in the round. Still 1 C4 to spare, likely safe for a plant deny later on. There's 60 seconds to go, and Bleed is still preparing the bomb set itself and the small areas around it.
pretty soon, Elevate are going to start feeling very exposed on that bomb site thanks to the vert being opened up, thanks to this horizontal pressure mounting. Oh, there's the player on the Azami. Leader's got the DMR though to take down that keeper barrier if needed. So NHK is just looking for someone on the vert. He spots 2 players, but he can't kill either of them. A 3rd player! He eventually gets his kill and survives on literally 1 point of HP. Now Bleed, the numbers are even. You've let this one slip, but the game is not over yet. It's time to execute. And there's no time like the present to do it. Shed trying to burn the time remaining with his gas babes, and that's going to drop the hatch, but it won't stop the entry here from Hoven, but SpeakEasy will! Reaps has got to jump desperately. Bleed have no choices now but to send themselves at the fire, and Elevate just have to wait. Another shot traded back. There's no time for Leader. And Elevate keep this series alive. Bank won 7-4. We go to Consulate to settle who will go to the Montreal Major.
And Bleed lose in the worst way possible. They have no control. They are never much on Bank in almost any of those attacking rounds. And if they do not affect them mentally and can't reason between this map and Consulate, they're going to have a really difficult time in what will be their only chance at making the Major. I hope they can figure it out. I hope that their support side can really talk to them and be like, guys, reset, 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 because it's do or die time.
Oh, it really is do or die for both teams now. This is a glorified best of 1. Consulate is where we will settle it, and I'm sure the desk has plenty about it to say.
That we do, I can tell you that much. We were sitting back in our green room, our comfortable room. It's like there's a heater in there, there's a fridge. It's a fantastic time.
Tim Tams.
But there's Tim Tams there. Don't forget the Tim Tams. Make sure you put them in the fridge after you're done. But this matchup honestly had so much to it. I was genuinely, from start to finish, I was really excited. I felt as though Bleed had a good footing in that second half. There were just a couple of critical moments where Elevate just found ins and completely destroyed them. Guys, I mean, this match from Elevate has really just gone to prove that this is going the distance. This is 100% completely in the realm of possibility for them.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an incredible showing from Elevate, and following on from what Nick said there towards the end of the cast, it did very much feel like they had control of this match for the most part. We saw that massive defensive hold from Elevate, that massive clutch on basement to sort of kick off their defensive effort, and I can't help but feel that that did rock the boat a little bit for Bleed. Elevate continued to dictate the terms of this match. Shed played incredibly well, had a standout performance, and again was a big part of that particular clutch. And despite Turd having a really good performance on the flip side, it just wasn't enough, and Elevate played a better team game, which can't be said for many teams against Bleed, so it's a really good effort.
Yeah, not only did Shed have a unbelievable, kind of response in terms of his KD, he was also the player that was planting in 3 out of 6 rounds on their attack. Every round that we saw on the attack won by Elevate, they found a plant. That just goes to show how Elevate Elevate are on Bank at the moment. They really have a solid idea as to how to approach this. But Xenox, one thing that we just continue to mention, and we will continue to, is Turd. I mean, halfway through this stage, we were calling him out, saying, my God, if you don't start playing right, you will end up getting dropped again. And he is going nuclear in a grand final right now with so much on the line.
Yeah, and it wasn't just us either. You know, we spoke to Julio earlier on in the stage and spoke candidly and openly about the situation regarding Turd and coming into this stage, before this stage, even before EWC. He's having a great grand final. He needs a little bit of help, though. He really does, because he's, I think, maybe trying to do a little bit of everything as well. You kind of look at his entries, -2 on the entry across the 2 maps, but he's 25 to 13 on his KD, so +12. The next best is +1 in Hoven. So if he can get some help in the entry departments, which to a degree he is, because Hoven, Reaps, they're the ones really getting those entry stats, 4-3 each for them respectively, then I think they've got themselves a good pathway to still winning this grand final. As much as I'm happy for Elevate, I did predict 2-1. I did predict it would be banked that they could get success, but I still think Bleed are well positioned to be able to close this out, provided, you know, Hoven, Reaps keep going positive on entry, start to get more kills. Turd keeps playing the way he's been playing, and there's enough there for them to get the job done. Credit to Shed, huge turnaround on Bank. I know you just spoke about it before. 167 EPS from Shed,
Insane.
plus 10 KD, plus 3 on entry, 91% cost. You mentioned, of course, the plants that he got down as well. He had the highest amount of survival rounds. He was absolutely outstanding. It was probably the best game that I've ever seen from him in the Asia League. So well done to Shed, well done to Elevate. They're still got a very difficult task ahead going into Consulate, though.
Yep, absolutely. This is where things start to heat up even more so. Guys, when you look at the comparison here, like, it doesn't feel like the game was that far apart, even though Elevate really did have some really strong rounds in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that's actually stood out to me looking at round history for this matchup to sort of get that point across, we look at the first half, the entry was converted into a round win every single round. All 6 rounds, if you got the opening kill, you won the round. In the second half, it was far more split and actually in favor of rounds not being converted. Funnily enough, 2 of those occasions of the 3 was when Bleed got the opening pick, but then the late round let them down. There was round 7, the basement, where they absolutely threw that round, 2 versus 4. They played straight into the utility, didn't drop properly, and it was out of sync. And then we saw in the final round there again, stalled out by utility. The utility game from Elevate was really, really good in the late round, and it was a big difference maker for them. So sure, Bleed can step it up in the entry. That'd be great. That would certainly help. But if their late round conversion is poor, not to say it was poor overall in this match, but it did let them down to some extent, that could prove costly on Consulate. Another map where you can get stalled out in some of that utility game.
Well, let's turn the conversation to Consulate here. Xenox, just very quickly, Bleed is starting on defense. Does that make you even more sure of your earlier prediction?
Yeah, I mean, I would rather be on defense to begin the third map of a grand final. I'm just going to have a quick look back on Labs. It was Elevate started defense, a bit shaky, then Bleed started defense on Bank, and, well, shaky, but it's Bank, right? So I think for Consulate, that's probably where you want to be, looking at some of the stats that we've seen of Consulate. We really haven't seen much in terms of Asia. The stats are pretty small in terms of sample size. Elevate have played it once. We haven't seen it from Bleed, and I'm just looking at some of the numbers, but I imagine they probably played a team from South Asia because they won it very convincingly, so I'm not even going to really reference it. So yeah, it was actually Hasib. There you go. I was half right. Thank you, James. But yeah, at the end of the day, going into this, you'd want to start defense, I think, to begin, just get your feet wet, and understand that, of course, Elevate are going to throw everything they've got at this. This first half is going to be so crucial, and if you can kind of just, weather that storm, even a 3-3 half, but ideally 4-2 in favor of Bleed, I think then they'll be able to get the chocolates and make their way over to Montreal. But credit to Elevate, they're in a really good position.
Get the chockies, that's a weird one from you. But guys, anything you'd like to say? Obviously, we're just about to head to a break. Anything you want to say?
I mean, the series is reset now, right? It's a glorified best of one. The better team on the night here in Consulate is going to be the team that goes to Montreal. And Elevate, yes, they played incredibly well. They've kept this series very close, but we know that Bleed has a history of always finding another gear. Now, typically, that happens midway through a map. We kind of expected it on Bank, probably after they threw that basement round. It never really came. But here on Consulate, they've had an opportunity now to reset. Julio is going to be refocusing them, one of the best coaches in the world for this map. So they have everything going their way to completely reset and bring that intensity back onto Consulate. They go in still as the favorites, but I really do hope it is another competitive map.
Well, the throne is in question. There's no doubt about it. All they're going to do is reach out and grab the crown, but they're going to get through the Kings first. We head to Consulate for the final map of this series.
I'd probably put Bank in the I'm tilted category. It's not really fun as a defender, like a lot of outside the map play or a power play. Very boring.
I think Bank is kind of mid for me because it requires like a lot of teamwork to be play perfect.
Bank, I will put in good. It's quite an old map in the Pro League scene, and it's also been through various strats, various variations of strats.
Just put it around, I think, good for me.
So Bank, mid, just it's a big map and it's hard to play, man. Just I don't enjoy it. It gives me anxiety just being in lobby with all those windows.
I put it in the mid, I guess. I feel like it's very hard to clear the maps without like a good team coordination.
I gotta put Bank on install because I think it's just too big for me.
I feel like Border's good because it's a more attacker-sided map. There's like more potential to see upsets from weaker teams.
Sometimes I'm good at Border, but sometimes I'm not. So I'll put Border at good.
Border, I would say it's mid.
I hate playing border when there's like a Dokkaebi playing from the enemy team and they just try ruining me on site and giving a call. Put it on tilted, I think.
Hard carrying. Love border. So many gunfights. Love coordinating with the fraggers on my team, if there are any.
Put that on good.
I'm gonna put it in good. Because when I play border, it's a small map, so I can like play gunfight a lot and refract for my teammates, and that's pretty easy for me. Yeah.
Chalet is kind of like same thing, like a more attacker-sided map. A lot of upsets, a lot of gunfights, which is what I like. So I'd put that in the good tier as well, probably above border.
I'll put Chalet in hard carry.
I would say mid as well. Same with the rework. Maybe I'm just a nostalgia merchant, but
Pretty good. I think I'm playing really like comfortable on this map.
Chalet is good. I like it, especially after the rework. It's one of the more balanced maps in my opinion.
I'll probably put it, I'm tilted. I already lost a game on Chalet when I solo queue.
Shadow, I'm gonna play on hard carrying, because the role I play is like I can get so many kills. Yeah.
Clubhouse is like a staple map. It's kind of like the Dust 2 of Siege. Really iconic map, and it's been there for a while. I'd probably put it in mid for now.
Club is kind of like Bank. It gives me the same vibe, so it's gonna be mid.
Clubhouse, the OG of the OG, hard carry.
Uninstall, but it's okay because I9 will hard carrying this map.
Clubhouse is good. It's one of the more different siege maps. Your operator lineup matters a lot.
Hard carrying. You can, I feel like if you get a site open, you can like carry your team with your good gun skill.
Clubhouse, I'm gonna put Clubhouse on hard carrying as well, because it's just like Chalet. I can do so many things.
In terms of the map itself, it's good map design, really nice colors and stuff. Probably put it in mid above Clubhouse.
It's hard. Consulate is hard. It's kind of like Sky because it's a defender sided. I'll put Cons and Sky in I'm tilted.
The thing is, I'm tilted. Back in my old team when we finally got good on Consulate, they make a rework, so I'm pissed.
I like this like this new Consulate. We're doing good, I think.
I would say it's good. Yeah, I enjoy playing it. It's one of the more technical maps, requires a lot of coordination.
I feel like it's one of the hardest map. Consulate, I probably uninstall my game.
If they put like so many gadgets in break and printer or like small office, it's pretty hard to push. I'm gonna play on mid because
Actually, Consulate is in just under mid, and Cafe will be uninstalled.
Cafe, yep, uninstall. That map is terrible. Cafe mid.
Cafe, straight uninstall. No point, man. So many windows, and personally I find it really challenging to just go on window rappels.
Cafe, I'll put it as good as well. A lot of variations you can play with.
I'm gonna play on uninstall, bro. I'm not really into that map.
Cafe, I would put on good. If you have a good gun skill, you probably like jump in the window and kill everyone.
Yeah, newest map to the Pro League map pool. I think it's really interesting, very big, a lot of rooms. I'd honestly put it good in between Chalet and Border.
Lair, uninstall. I think everyone knows why.
Mid.
Right now, if you ask me, put it in the I'm tilted category.
Lair is, yeah, uninstall the game again on Lair. I hate that map.
I'm gonna play on good, because honestly I only play like one time. We actually did pretty good on that map.
Lair is actually pretty decent, I think. I think it's going mid. It's going mid.
Get this map out of the game actually. I don't even know why they put this in.
Nighthaven, goated map. The best by far, hard carrying.
I always struggle in big maps, so I'll put it just right beside Consulate.
Nighthaven, I would say mid.
Let's put it on tilted because like it's like 50-50 for me. Either I win or lose.
Nighthaven, good. Again, one of the more acquired taste maps, I would say.
Tilted? It's the same thing as Chalet.
I'm gonna put labs on good. Yeah, that will help you a lot to play that map if you know everyone's.
Skyscraper, another map with like heavy 5-1, sometimes like 6-0 defense splits, which is just sucks, especially if you're on like the attacking side of it, like a BO1 or something.
And Sky, just like Consulate, it's like super defender sided.
Skyscraper, I would say good, even though some would say it's a defender sided map.
Skyscraper, hard carrying.
Skyscraper, I would say it's mid. No particular reason.
I would put it on hard carrying.
I'm gonna play on tilted. Because I don't know why. Every time I play Skyscraper, my team can do like so good. But I can't get kills. Yeah, that's why.
It's total calamity, total mayhem inside of the server. Out of nowhere, they find their round back into their favor.
Holding up for the plunder wave! And I think he might just find it!
Welcome back to the Asia League Grand Final. Bleed and Elevate have each taken their own map pick, and it all boils down to Consulate here to determine which of these two illustrious teams will make it to the Montreal Major and represent their region. Once upon a time, we would have sent both of them, Pengu, but it can only be one, and it's got to be Bleed. That's what everyone has been saying. These guys have been kings of Asia for nearly 2 years now. Surely they can't fumble this.
Surely, but Elevate looking in peak form right now. They've been so prepared for this best of 3. The map veto, the individual strats, the individual performances. I mean, Shed popped off like a madman on the previous map of Bank. And I will say, like, even on Nighthaven Labs, there are more rounds where I was surprised and impressed by Elevate than that of Bleed. The big difference between map 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 is there's a significant break for the third and final deciding map. And in that time, you can reassess your approach, change some strats around, and of course, have a heart-to-heart as a team saying, guys, this is what we have to change. And it's all eyes on Bleed, because like you said, this is their match to win. It is their major to qualify for, and they are on the back foot right now.
That they are. And if you look holistically at the series, 7-5 win for Bleed on Nighthaven, 7-4 win for Elevate on Bank. Elevate have actually won more rounds in this series so far. But Bleed should still on paper be the favored team. I think everyone is still going to back Bleed in it, even if Elevate have that advantage, even if they have performed better throughout the series, even if they have pedigree. Bleed just has this stature in this region. They are the kings, and they don't want anyone else taking their crown. They start on the defense as well, Pengu. It was a coin flip to determine who started there, and Bleed can count themselves quite lucky, unless we go to OT, in which case Elevate will have the defense start, and they'll be the ones that are lucky.
10 seconds left.
Very confused here. They're playing top 4 defense, and Mentalist is hiding as the bandit inside CO almost the entire round. He just started showing himself now because Attacker Repick no longer in action. But the bandit up here, I mean, the only real wall you can juggle is the exterior wall leading into meeting. And hiding the entirety of the prep phase as a bandit just for that single purpose means that you are expecting a take from admin and that meeting breach. Otherwise, this bandit is practically useless. But look at this Elevate roster. They wanna take control, they wanna be in charge. Amuro, Ying, Glass, Lion in their opening round. There they see the Bandit Claw. They know it's not a kite, it was banned out by the Elevate roster themselves. And they don't have any way to deal with this. That's going downstairs for the Galaxy perhaps. They ain't got any EMPs. I mean, to be fair, downstairs you can't really go for any Bandit batteries, so they're just gonna lock out of this one. Oh, the nade actually, wait, hold up.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, mine's smarter than I am.
Hello. Goodbye.
A second nade though? Oh,
Easily
no second
for
nade.
Mentalist. Yeah, there was no follow through there. That's a bit awkward there for Elevate. They invested a lot, but in the end, Mentalist was able to easily juggle it all.
See, that's gonna make them go into plan B. You can still kind of go for it, I guess, but without the meeting breach opened up, it's gonna limit where exactly it can be attacking from. Less pressure on towards Bleed, and of course the bandit paying off. If they went for a double nade there, it does kind of solve the problem, but small things sometimes can cost you big victories. Elevator quick to go in admin, gonna make their approach, but they have burned half the round already, trying to deal with that exterior wall.
Have to make up for it with some solid entries. The Bleed are playing quite smart. They've fallen back. How much more is Hoven going to try and contest here? Realistically, he should be falling off very soon, but he's so brave. He doesn't have any keeper barriers left to work with. Still playing around the reinforcements, but there is a gaping hole in the middle of them where Elevate and Breach. I'm still trying to get a handle on what exactly Elevate are trying to achieve here, aside from a very slow and arduous clear from admin side across. There has to be something more to it.
There is always a chance that they take the admin take, Amaru shooting the CEO window. Yeah, they're planting right now, actually. Yeah, they're doing that.
Okay, and I don't think there's any information about it either, and the plant will go down. Eventually, MC is taken out by the Vulcan Fire, but the greatest bait has turned now into a great escape for Shed, who's backed on out. And now the coverage from SpeakEasy. Elevate have read this like a book, and Bleed have struggled to catch up. Now they have to desperately conjure up some kind of a retake here, knowing full well that anyone that tries to get them disabled is essentially on a suicide mission. Players outside on the rappel being watched very well. Elevate have this handled. Every single kill goes in their favor. Mentalist has absolutely no chance. And the round is locked in for Elevate. Unreal. And that is the caliber of this team. These guys know exactly what they're doing here on Consulate.
There it is. They're in their heads from the very first round, and I saw that they droned out the smoke inside a meeting, and often what you can do with the Amaru or Glass or the Ying is you can go for a straight CEO take and just sell it. And it was such a good picked moment for Elevate because the second they went for the execute CEO window, we saw Bleed popping the Goya canisters on admin side, tossing out the babes from the smoke, and really being ready for a battle. But they were fighting ghosts. There was no one actually there besides a single player who entered the building inside of admin. So, you're on defense if you're Bleed, you're supposed to be winning, and sure it's only the first round, but you have to understand the mental side effect this is gonna have. You're gonna be afraid now of a direct push/rush every single defense going forward because you lost out on a round you have no business losing. So now you're gonna be afraid of roaming too deep in the map. If you don't roam deep enough, that means the attackers will Elevate, they will take map control much quicker than they're supposed to and have an advantage in the round. However, if you do go for a deep roam, what if they rush? They did that last time. So now already Elevate are controlling the pace very much and dictating how Bleed are gonna approach this.
Attackers are moving to defuse a bomb. Initiating jammer.
Oh, well, we said that starting defense would be drastically favored, and Bleed have not shown us that so far. They have to be ready for a lot more than you would expect. Like, Elevate are not here to play default Siege. No. They've come into playoffs with pocket strats. They're coming in to do something a little bit funky to catch you off guard. To make it look like you're winning the round, and they're going for a really slow and default admin push. And then, oh, by the way, yeah, we just planted. We just snuck in the back door. You guys left it unlocked.
Yeah, they tuck you in nice and comfy. And you say goodnight. Take the round away. And you look at this, like, they're not doing anything right now, Elevate. Like, they're shooting some windows, shooting some doors, they're outside the breach. But they're always thinking of doing something. It's how to get there. The mirror window, a bit of an obstacle. Just popped on open. And I feel like now is the time for MC on the Hibana to rotate on over because I don't think an exothermic charge that exterior wall any longer. Even with the smoke, go for it. Look at that, they get a catch elsewhere.
Yeah, okay, there is a trade at least here, and Reaps dies without really any util to waste, so that's good. Oh wow, a smoke grenade is what they're going to use to try and get this exothermic off? That is, yeah, risky but creative, and means that they don't have to get MC to rotate over, and they get that full massive breach that the exothermic can deliver.
The issue is, the breach itself doesn't do a whole lot if you can't quite get in, and they only have one smoke left in the pocket of SpeakEasy and Thermite. You're gonna want to have those smokes to, you know, deny some lines of sight, some crossfires, and make an entry for a plant possibly. But in a 4v4, I don't think this is gonna be a doable angle for them to work. They're gonna have to go for a roam clear, find a pick, backstab archive, something like that. Because yellow door breach is just not where you want to go. We see Shed work the back angle right now together with MC. It's a very slow progression though. There's a soul drone, no entry behind it. 2 players and Bleed upstairs inside of Piano, but they got the hatch open for a quick fallback. So Bleed up doing a really good job right now at still keeping the roam alive vertically with the option of falling back if they need to.
Yeah, that's my concern here for Elevate. The one thing that they're not doing is pressuring those roamers above. Does mean they're investing more reinforcements onto the site. Now, there's no information ahead of Shed, but he's had a phenomenal series so far. He loses his life to Leader. And now Elevate look a little bit desperate. SpeakEasy can't win his fight, and Cal does trade him. It's a 1v2 now, and I don't think he's going to be able to get this revival. He's so tempted to make it work. Spots the player, but Hoven wins the fight regardless. And that's a solid one there for Bleed to even the scoreline, and they should be pretty happy. That was a reasonably comfortable defense.
It is though, if one gunfight doesn't go in Bleed's favor on the side there, I do think that Elevate can go for a plant, and it's a 2v2 or a 2v3 with anybody's round to go, so yes, Bleed, they win it, but it comes down to very, very small reasons as to why they were victorious in that one. And I mean, Elevate, what's the expectation here? 2 attacks, 3 I want to say 3 attacks, honestly. They've been so good on it. On Labs, on Bank, that first round. Even the second one was a good attempt at problem solving, a pretty difficult one. So Elevate already getting 1 out of the 2. I mean, you can't ask for much based on an attack here.
Yeah, especially if they keep that up. Like, if Bleed comes through and just wipes the floor and these look like convincing rounds of defense wins, then I'm going to be concerned for Elevate. But even that round that Bleed won there on the defense, I guess, like you said, it just came down to a gunfight. It could have gone the other direction, and then suddenly it's an Elevate round, and we're 2-0 in favor of the attacking side of Elevate. That would be a big alarm signal for Bleed, yeah. So they certainly can't be too happy yet. Also, you know, to add to all that, like opening picks as well. That last round up, they found the opening kill. So we'll see what Bleed can do when they go back to this top floor now. They're going to be much more aware of that Amaru backstab, but it's still ever present. You know, very rarely do you go for a pocket strap twice, but I mean, Shed still has it.
It's quite flexible. You can go on the meeting window, the CEO window. It's just a good run overall. I like the C4 that they're expecting the grenade onto Mentalist on the bandit tricking right now. So if they hear a nade, they throw the C4 and then try and trade. This is a nice little mini game that they're playing, where they're trying to bait up the action. With the nade being pushed out with the C4, and they get shot mid-air? There's no way.
Yeah, I think it might have either that or it got blocked by the Azami Kiba barrier. I can't quite tell, but regardless, Mentalist not able to go for this juggle. And so the breach is confirmed here. So impact, the trick, or anything of the sort. Oh, aggressive though from MC. He wants to take these fights. That's a freebie. Second one for MC. Immediately the plant, it's not able to go down, and the coverage is not quite here as of yet, but Hoven to the rescue finds his one, and Turtz is also joining the fight. A 2v2 as Bleed recompose. MC and SpeakEasy need to reset this up. And Hoven knows full well that plant's going down. He's taking his one fight. MC now needs to do a whole lot more, but Turtz is not going to overpeak. And Hoven is now going to hide in his corner. This is a very solid crossfire here for Bleed, and it's not going to work out. Hoven, he really did come to the rescue there for Bleed. That should have been an Elevate round, but a big 2v4 from Hoven, and Third keeps Bleed in the lead.
That is way too close for comfort, but again, I feel like Elevate actually making a bit of a misstep in that one. I didn't see what player it was, but whoever was on the Lion kind of trolled his positioning. Middle of meeting, not watching the flank, could have played from the small room, could have just watched the flank instead, and him dying meant there was less cover for the plant going down. It's in Cal actually. You see MC makes the entry, Shed is the delivery with the diffuser, Glass goes in CO, but this right here, Lion spinning around inside a meeting, literally loot clicking towards his planter instead of the meeting door he came from. Very puzzling. Turtle, he saved the round, got the backstab, got the flank, got the kills, then waited for backup and crossfire, and then played out that 2v2. But Bleed are having to fight so hard to find victories in these rounds, and it's again Elevate who dictates if it's a fast or a slow one by simply rushing the side of that meeting breach.
10 seconds.
Bleed are like the kings, not just of Asia, but they're the kings of coming back from losing positions. And Even though they got clutched on a few times on map 1, we're starting to see a little bit of that magic back again. There's so many things that we always break down on what the Bleed have that other teams don't. Well, you know, they've got World Championship coach, they've got an international Brazilian analyst, they've got an import leader who's played in the EU League, played in the MENA League, but they've also got this little Bleed magic about them. And that's something that I feel like we don't talk about. But intangibly, this team, all 5 incredibly deadly players, they can just win these rounds that you shouldn't be winning.
Breach charge deployed.
Oh, wait.
What's going on there?
It started popping when he ripped it off. That was so strange. Okay. There we go. Can you see the jammer though? That's the bigger question. Yeah. Maybe? No? Oh, we got it. Genius. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, he's been speaking easily today. Don't mind the Capitao pick. Man, Capitao is so bloody good. Gone 6.
Yeah.
2 tin can openers. 2 fires, 2 smokes. Ooh, and high cal. On this lurk, I don't think Leader heard him, did he?
Hard to tell. I mean, they're both having a standoff, so I think they must have hurt one another. Look at the call though. Nice a bit of safety for the attackers, but Leader actually aggressing back into this one. I don't think he knows. They're planting.
Oh no! How on earth have Elevate once again got themselves into the site and forcing this plant down with no response from Bleed? Nobody's home! Bleed didn't even knock on the door, they just let themselves in. And now the post plant does have an advantage for Bleed. And an over-aggressive play from Shed certainly puts the pressure now onto NHiCal and SpeakEasy. 30 seconds now is all they've got to waste, and the cover is there from Turdster. Mentalist forcing this disable, and SpeakEasy has been shut out. Again, nobody was home, but Bleed immediately got back into sight and quelled the intruders. And so they have started to extend this lead on their defense, but not without some serious sweats on their brows.
That's a ridiculous round. That's a plant going down in what was basically a 5 versus 5. Sure, Bleed did get 2 kills immediately when it happens, but still, 5v5 plant goes down. Somehow Bleed, they find every single kill and the defuse without taking any damage in the server basic. That's ridiculous. I mean, this kill getting missed right here, bit of a sad one, the timing on the on-ADS and scoping, but that's not really, like, the round going sideways isn't up to NICal. He's the flank watcher. It's whatever happened off screen that we didn't witness, those first 2 deaths. I'm curious if they were sacrificing themselves, or if they died vertically, or if they just lost gunfights, because that's the real story. NICal is flank watch, Dogaby was on the drones and calling the cameras, and then Blitz was planting. Lead, you're 3-1 now. This is Consulate defense. If we look away from how Bleed they have won the rounds, things look completely normal right now. This one here, the upcoming round, that's the big one. If Bleed can get the 4-1, or if we go to 3-2, that's a big defining moment in round advantage, because it just means that Elevate have so much less room to make mistakes on the side swap when they get to defend.
Especially with how close the rounds have been, Elevate will be kicking themselves if they don't find 2 or ideally 3 rounds. I mean, every single one of these rounds has been close. Even though that was technically a flawless round, I mean, Elevate could have very much won that in the post plant. This could be a 4-0 for Elevate, this could be a 4-0 for Bleed. It's just the nature of how these rounds have panned out so far. Every single one has been bloody close. The scoreline is what it is. So, Bleed going now to a different bomb site again, by the way, a 4th different bomb site on Consulate. We see the Scopos, the inactive shell back on site, allowing Mentalist a little bit more flexibility on that roam.
It's actually a genius operator for this one, because when you're playing that split bomb site, it can be so hard to navigate up and down a staircase. Scopos kind of skips that step by just teleporting, obviously. Normally we see a bunch of C4s and pulls, Maestro Valkyrie, you do all play for like the C4 plant deny from basement and whatnot. Bit of a different one for Bleed. They can fight for map control, but they still have C4s. Because Valkyrie is banned, they've opted for double bulletproof camera on Lesion and Fenrir to supplement the intel game. So they're covering all their bases and doing a good job at realizing what is and what isn't available to make the strat function correctly. And Elevate have been very slow almost every single round except for the rush. They want to make sure that they don't make these missteps anymore. No mistakes allowed. Clean cut round of Rainbow Six Siege. drone, player follows behind. They're trying to get into position downstairs to go for backstab while they attack Visa at the same time.
I mean, 3 of the players are still outside. And like you said, we've got Ape and Garage.
Ooh.
And Haikal is also coming from that position from Yellow. He read out Leader. He took him down. Those Dread Mines now unswitchable. Mentalist is going for his own flank, but Ape's found Reaps, and that means Mentalist has to get on his bike. He has to start coming into the position. He finds Shed, well played, takes down the Claymore, and then immediately dashes away. He can also switch if he wishes. Durst is feeling a world of hurt here. Caught between 2 players, and Ape from behind with the backstab. Elevate find themselves again in a 4 versus 2 as Hoven drops back to side, only to be dropped by SpeakEasy. Mentalist as the Scopos. He could teleport deep into side, but Ape shuts him out of it. Elevate, a more convincing round finally, and they are within touching distance again of Bleed.
And you see Elevate, they do have more than one tempo. They've been so quick and so rushy on a lot of the bank rounds, and now also on Consulate, but now they showed us that they can play a really basic round of Siege, and I mean that in the best way possible. It was just excellent, and it was simple, and it was highly effective. You drone in, you assess the circumstance, okay? The hatch is open, there's a player watching you. What are you gonna do? You send in 2 players fighting the one on the hatch. If one of you come out victorious, you get garage control, and you get a 1-for-1 trade. That's good. But because they get the kill for free, they keep going forward, aggressing into Turtsta, and they also play the 2-1 perfectly. One person flanking Ape on the block, breaking down the Stockholm barricade, and the Ash is pushing in front of Turtsta. Even if they trade, they will get the kill no matter what. There's no way they both die here. Like, the timing was perfect. We saw it right here on the replay. And they get side control. They force me to drop down the hatches, and they're just not gonna win those gunfight engagements. Elevate, maybe slow is better, because Bleed, they are prepared for the quick ones.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, again, I mean, these rounds are still back and forth, but I'm just so impressed by Elevate this whole series long. Not many of us actually believed that Elevate were going to be at the caliber that they could take down Bleed. And this isn't a Bleed that is looking weak. Like, this isn't a Fury situation where the team just isn't fulfilling expectations. Oh, this is swamping. Oh, a little bit of damage. Ape survives. The Bleed are in top form. Like, this is a Bleed that is capable of going to international events and taking down big names like we've seen them do before. At the EWC, at Six Invitational, at the Atlanta Major, and in Manchester. And yet Elevate can keep pace. That's how far this team has come.
Very important round here to equalize the score. Going 3-3, starting on the attacking side would be very excellent here for Elevate. I would say kind of beating expectations before the map started. But off the rip with how confident they were playing, I feel like they're right on track getting that 3-3 scoreline. Again, a slow start. They got the Deimos this time. They can isolate roamers, try and go for a pick and play the numbers advantage with Lead. Then to just fall back and happily give up the map control. I like this play from Hogan though. Playing aggressive in the yellow staircase with the shotgun and smoke in hand. They stall for time, try and go for a pick, has the barbed wire, has the sound cue to work off of.
Disadvantage now. And talk about quiet players, Reaps. Where is this guy today? 1 in 5 here. Yesterday he was fragging out of his mind. In the series so far, he hasn't been at the top of the lists at all. I mean, we've talked about him a little bit, but he's kind of just midding at the moment, like 17 kills, 20 deaths. Not the kind of Reaps performance that we expect. Turtz has gone down. We've praised him plenty in this series, and he's been shut out of this round. Elevate looking to tie the half.
Looking very good doing so, and mind you, because Amos is still alive, they can always find out where one defender is playing and make this a 5v2 if they really want to pressure those positions. And we see Hoban, you have no intel. Smoking, swinging, and the thing is, there's no one there. It's completely free. They're flanking, however. Final babe goes out at 50 seconds left in the round. So again, Elevate, they've been slow. Because they've gotten those 2 picks and they've burned 3 toxic babes from Hoban, they have 40 actual seconds to work with. That's a real timer.
Here comes a flash, here comes the execute, and here comes Elevate, keen for more. Hoban is just patiently waiting, but he can't wait forever, and he is still being watched. Leader on site, I mean, what on earth can he do? What can he hope for? Hoban at least has found one as he goes back towards the site, but at least Elevate now knows where he is. two SAS brothers try and hold on. There's a big pick. This 2v5 is starting to look winnable, and as you said, that diffuser's now been dropped by MC. 13 seconds to play, and Leader could put this round on his back and march towards victory. The shotgun from Nighthaven, but I don't think he's got time to get to the site. They need to go for the kill, and they won't have time. Leader has clutched it from the grave. Oh my god, Bleed, you are lucky today. Elevate are going to be kicking themselves, and Bleed have won that half fair and square.
There are not many one-speed operators in Rainbow Six Siege, but Gridlock is one of them. If you are a 2-speed, I believe you actually make that to the bomb site in time to get down the diffuser. Sure, you're not planning in the most safe, comfortable spot, but it beats losing on 0 seconds because the timer runs out. And Leader played it so well. Yeah, he stuck the corner, he's gonna get pre-fired, but he recognizes that there isn't enough time. But the real hero, Colwyn, let go of the mouse and keyboard and just didn't risk swinging the yellow door. Heartbreaking loss of a round for Elevate because they played so well the entire time, except when time ran out.
Man, oh man, I mean, there are so many narrow margins that could have flipped that around differently. I saw the Ying also sprinted towards to get that diffuser. I don't know if she would have been slightly faster being a 2-speed. I don't know if the Gridlock then going for the confirmation on the kill with the second shot of the shotgun would have changed anything. Like, man. 5 seconds to go.
If you had a pistol for the shotgun, you sprint faster. Yeah. Like, there are so many small margins you could make up there.
Holy shiz. That's going to be a real kicker, though. I mean, Elevate winning that half, 3-3 would have been considered winning the half, right, from an attacking perspective. Yeah. They played so well on their attack, and yet the scoreline, it is what it is, right? Bleed have won that half. They've hit half of the course, and now they can make up for how narrow those rounds were just by having some good attacks. I mean, they could win it here.
I will say, I watched the player cams immediately when, you know, the 0 second happened, and Elevate, they were smiling and laughing about it. I think they recognized that that was a silly way to go out, but they actually did have that on the bag, and if you have the right mindset about those situations, you recognize that that was a round victory that you just gave to them. You were good enough to actually have earned yourself a victory there. And if you take that kind of confidence with you onto the defense, you're saying, guys, don't worry about it. We can beat them on attack, and we can definitely also beat them on defense. Bleed, they have to try and do what Elevate they have been doing on their attacking side, which is controlling their opponent. If Bleed is super slow here, and Elevate don't aggress into them holding angles, they're not going to get any kills. However, if Bleed play too fast, they might battle Elevate. So Bleed have to find the right tempo right now and match Elevate and control the pace.
At the moment, Bleed is still trying to figure out exactly what the setup is here from Elevate. Where's that Scopus? All the way down in the basement. That's a very late flank opportunity. I don't know exactly what Uppe is planning with it, but here come the nades, sending on in, and Nighthaven actually gets away with his life. Hoven jumps in for it as well, but this keeper barrier will protect the Yazami for a bit longer. I feel holistically like Bleed have actually made pretty good time.
They've made good time, but think about that. If Hoven jumps in spiral window like 2 seconds earlier, they might get a free kill there. Or if when Turret throws the nades, someone else covers the angle. They cannot miss a free kill.
Well, they might be able to make up for it, as they've now cleared long desk position. And Hoven is just waiting for Shed to peek. Elevate biding their time. They want this to whittle down.
Turret's deep.
What's the plan here for Elevate? This cover is very awkward there. Hoven didn't land a single bullet there on the Shed. SpeakEasy is worried about this buck below, and he will find him. Reaps is down. The fire comes through. It's too late to save Reaps. And guess what? Uppe's done it. The flank. It doesn't even matter. He doesn't even have to continue. He can go back to site. He is, of course, the Scopus. He's still holding on to that position on Spiral Stairs, and Bleed don't know what to do. They haven't finished clearing out these players on the site. They've got flankers to worry about, and there again, the switch over from Uppe as he's back on the top floor thanks to the Scopus. An absolute masterclass of that new operator. Turns to finds one traded, and back again. Can he pick up his teammate? He's not going to have the time, and he's not even going to have the time to deny the plan. Oh, it's just all done. Elevate will win it on time, on the sweat of their brow. Massive round. I mean, so much going on, and Bleed simply couldn't keep up.
There is a very clear MVP of that round for Elevate, and that's SpeakEasy. He played his position. He's actually, okay, I was going to say he's out of the server. He's back. He played that so well. He used a smoke inside the small box of meeting, using the Toxic Babes to stall out the plant attempt, killing Bog below, and despite getting fire arrowed by Capital on 2 separate occasions, he would crouch walk in towards a meeting. And I say crouch walk, and I mean it very importantly. If he sprints or stands up, leaving that box, he will die to touch the top spiral holding the angle. But he crouch walks in the middle of the fire, which gets him behind the desk cover, which means Turks can't see him. He did that on 2 separate occasions. The second step was MC right there. They trade each other. MC goes to the swing, he dies, Speaky stands up, gets the injured trade. And that creates enough chaos in the round, combined with the clock being so low, that Bleed start panicking and they don't have a plant angle. They were worried about the verticality below them because Ape was playing the Scopus. So there are so many different win conditions in play there for Elevate, and Bleed didn't have an answer.
And yet they still brought it really close, by the way, which is just damn impressive. It's a shame we didn't manage to catch the Scopus as that switch went through, but I'm glad that we saw it in the early round, just getting a tease of where that inactive shell was, all the way in the basement at the bottom of Spiral Stairs. But yeah, I mean, what's amazing about that is not only do you have your free flank, but you also have the escape from the flank. Because you only want to be on that flank for like 1 kill, and then you just want to be back on site so they can't flood the site. And that's exactly what we saw happen.
Speaking of things that we've seen while we're in this technical pause, I just want to praise the observing. Like, we have spoken about it as talent members in the Discord chat and stuff, but generally speaking, we have had phenomenal observing in playoffs. It's so much more noticeable in best of threes because you have to build a story over multiple maps, but we're seeing so much with the small box coming up, seeing diffuser being dropped, the Scopos teleport, the rappel angles outside. There is so much story to be told in small tidbits that we don't normally have. Yeah. So well done, observing team.
Yeah. Shout out to Sky and to Nuttery, who are our observers for Asia. They've really been killing it, and the whole production with the picture-in-picture little bits that we get, and the free cams, it adds so much to the broadcast. And I know that not all the regions get to have 2 observers, and not all of the regions get to use the free cam to the full extent. I mean, we're so lucky that the game finally added that bloody free cam. We had to wait about 9 years for it, or however long it's been. But man, it has been so good, and in the hands of a talented observer, which we're very lucky enough to have, it makes such a massive difference. So big shout out to all the observers involved in all the regions of Blast Star 6, but especially our homies Sky and Nuttery. We're just quickly getting through this rehost, guys, but we'll be back in a minute, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, guys, to the grand final here. We're pretty deep here into the final map on Consulate. Lead just edging up over Elevate at the moment by 1 round. But we would not be surprised if Elevate can bring it back. I mean, this has been an unbelievably competitive series, and this map has continued to deliver.
Oh, it's been really good. I'm actually a bit like, normally, you know, tech pauses don't bother me all too much, but like I wanted to keep going. It's been fast, it's been back and forth, both teams giving it everything, fighting for the major spot, and to a lot of people's surprise, it's been Elevate looking like the better team more often than not, I would argue. And they're on defense, the favorable side. I mean, they have this in the bag if they just play it well enough, and they have been so far.
Yeah. I'm so excited that we've reached this point in Asia where we have multiple teams that are good enough to go to the major, and unfortunately we can only have one. And you know, all of last year it was Bleed and Fury. They went to the majors. Elevate actually did go to that major in Copenhagen. Although they didn't have the greatest performance, quite a different team that we have now. You know, we got Shed and we got MC on this roster, and Haikal making his debut at the pro level at just 18 years old. And this is a nice set of nades. Shed really forced off his position. I mean, that was an unbelievably large amount of util invested here by Bleed, but the breach is off, and it looks like they're tempted to go fast.
I think they're just gonna go for it. Blitz in yellow door, glass smokes, covers, and go for a plan attempt here. There's only 2 supports available. One of them is roaming, so this could work unless Shed steps up.
And Shed's in that power position. He took the game into his own hands on Bank, and now with that cover from the hatch, I don't know if the Blitz is going to be able to pull off his position. Hover now going for the kill. The C4, Shed trades himself, and the Blitz is out of the equation. Bleed now started to slow down. With the lack of that shield, they don't have a way to force themselves through, and with that plant not being secured by Mentalist, Elevate again have the advantage. Here comes that Deimos. Oh, it tracks the wrong player. This is a freebie for Haikal. And Bleed have been bled dry. It looks like Elevate may tie up the scoreline unless Turdster and Reeves can pull off some serious heroics. Almost finding the first kill needed. Crossing, dashing. Turdster gets into an aggressive position. He still hasn't got that diffuser.
It's tough to pick it up, but is there anywhere safe to plant? The roof cam gets shut down. Maybe there actually is. They gotta gamble it now. Hatch opened up second roof cam too. I mean, you gotta go for broke here, just fight it out, but these vertical angles, it's gonna make it so much harder for Reeves to find the right position.
Oh, and there's a shotgun as well upstairs to continue making these vertical lines of sight. SpeakEasy's low on the objective, and ideally Reeves needs to take that 1v1. Maybe Turdster can come support, but MC above the hatch, traded by Turd. Pistol comes out, and yeah, even SpeakEasy on low HP will win that fight. Elevate, really thanks to Shed, the man who needed to step up. He did, Pengu, and Elevate have brought us again to a standstill, 4 rounds apiece.
Looking at that rush round from Bleed, it shows a very big difference between Elevate and Bleed when they go for a rush. Bleed went like 4/5 guys on the breach in yellow door itself, fully committing to one position in the map. When Elevate go for a similar take like that, they would be attacking Piano at the same time or going for a backstep on Archives. And you can do those kinds of very simple rushes, I think, against the weaker teams or maybe a year or 2 or 3 ago when teams weren't as good as they are now. But it's way too simple in today's era of the game. There's too much utility, too many C4s, too many good, strong meta operators that can shut that kind of direct push down. And we saw Elevate, they had piano control. They killed the planter vertically from above while the glass was looking the wrong direction, looking at the bomb site itself, and Shed C4 took down the Blitz. So in 2 simple actions, the entire shot of Bleed falls apart because it didn't have any more ways to actually win that round than go for a cheesy plant attempt.
Well, I guess if there's anything going for Bleed, it's the fact that Elevate, of course, can't just keep repeating bomb sites. We have to see a little bit more out of it. We have to see them continue switching things up. So now they'll go to Piano, Expo. This is the tertiary bomb site that you typically see teams start to have a little bit of success on if they have struggled on the attack.
Can be an awkward bomb site to play. It's again one of those, the bomb set itself is kind of weak, so you're heavily reliant on the roam upstairs. You can play top floor, you can play basement, you can go for late round flanks. It speaks a lot about the map dynamics, and I think that's actually why I like the Solus pick here. I was gonna say Solus, slow pulse, maybe a pulse. That's the kind of pocket operators I want to see for just this bomb site in particular, because you can work the map. Solus can see where the drones are coming from, where players might be at, or Planet Sim late round. And I know Solus got like a small nerf where you can't see exactly what gadget is being utilized unless you go for that overclock mechanic, so to speak, where you have like a solid 10 seconds where you can see what is happening. But you can usually tell if something is moving, it's probably gonna be a drone. Yeah. If something's standing still, it's probably a guy droning or a claymore. So at this little play, I don't think that nerf is gonna change all too much, but I like Elevate's operator lineup composition here. I think it makes sense.
Yeah, they've got a lot of map control for now, as you typically do on this bomb site. You want to contest the staircases, you want to contest that top floor. Ooh, a little bit of a juggle for up A. Wants to change his position. I've seen the roaming mute jammers have had quite a bit of impact, not only with the Dokkaebi in the meta, but also that Deimos, which has been brought by Hoven here.
The thing is, when Hoven is holding an angle like that for a full minute on the yellow window, you're really gambling on the fact he's gonna get a kill. Otherwise, he's wasting his time. Because remember, he's not droning, he's not entering, and he's not using his Deimos tracker. So it's effectively a 4 versus 5 in that situation. And Elevate being the defending team, they're perfectly happy with nothing going on. Sure, they might get suspicious, like, okay, nobody's attacking us top floor. Are they going for a bomb site rush? But then we have to remind ourselves, they have the Solids who can see the plant going down, and they have full vertical control over meeting and CEO. Bleed, they're trying to match this strength upstairs. They have 3 people, top spiral, meeting door, but they need the actual control. Being on these positions is not enough. They have to go on the aggressive right now and try and find an entry kill or 2 before hitting the site later on.
Yeah, and so the death mark comes out. The Solus has spotted one of 3 players in CEO, one of 4 players holding onto this top floor for Elevate. And as you said, I mean, it's not good enough to just know that they're there and start clearing the util, start clearing the reinforced walls. You actually have to execute onto these players, and this is a very one-dimensional push. As the mute's now spotted, Hoven's got the information. Wait a second, there's a plant going down on site. Reaps has snuck in, but MC has put him down. This was very risky from Bleed. They weren't convinced that they could go for an execute onto that top floor with so many players up, so they got desperate about it. They were punished. There's 2 players now standing. And to be honest, Turtle Mentalist look absolutely lost. 2 versus 5, 20 seconds to play on the wrong bloody floor of the map. What more could you ask for Elevate? They're just going to sit pretty on the bomb side. They say, hey, we've got that diffuser. We got that nice little lunchbox. Maybe we'll open up and have a little bit of a picnic. Maybe Bleed aren't even invited. They're not even going to join the bloody site. Time is ticking away. There's 7 bloody players left alive in the server. And Elevate win it on time. Oh, what calamity it is today for Bleed, as Elevate have taken the lead.
It is such a phenomenally played round there from Elevate. It is picture perfect. Usually, what is supposed to happen there is Bleed, they're attacking the top floor, and chaos is happening, right? Kills back and forth, it's super messy, super chaotic, and then they go for a plant attempt. But the second Bleed they went for it, all of Elevate ran away. There was nobody top floor. They were all downstairs piano, they were yellow stairs, they were playing basement, and because they had the Solace, they knew exactly when the bomb was going down as well, when and where. We saw Reaps look at the verticality up above him, thinking they're in meeting, but they weren't. Bleed don't have the overview right now, it's completely falling apart. Elevate, they might not be the individually better players, they might have less experience, they might not play internationally all the damn time, but they are outplaying Bleed on a strategical level. And this is the difficulty of playing in a region like Japan, Korea, Asia, or Oceania, is that you have a lot of teams who are not the most strategically sound. And then it's hard to get really good practice outside of gun skill unless you bootcamp international and make the majors. That's something Bleed they do, but right now they are being outplayed strategically by another team that is mostly, Asia based. This is not the norm for Bleed. They're probably shell-shocked. I mean, this shouldn't be happening to Bleed, but it is. It's a living nightmare for them.
And they're just sitting there thinking, is this really happening right now? We're all sitting here thinking, is this really happening right now? But Elevate have not made it to an international event since the Copenhagen Major a year and a half ago. And to be frank, that was a pretty abysmal performance from them at that event. They were extremely disappointed. And then they got completely locked out. It was Fury and Bleed every day of the week since then. And then we went down to only one spot for the entirety of Asia, and Elevate is sitting there like, okay, you're telling me we don't have to be better than just one of those teams? We have to be better than both? Well, guess what? Elevate is here to play. They have battled their way through this bracket. No cap with no slouches, but here Elevate seem to be in control with the true kings of this region who seem to be faltering at what could be the final hurdle of their stage.
If you're Bleed right now, you can definitely feel the pressure. I mean, they don't find themselves often back against the wall. They do. They usually just swing back around shortly after, but that's not been the case on Bank. It's not been the case on Consulate. They gotta find an angle to work, exploit a weakness from Elevate, find the gap, control the pace, get those opening kills, for God's sake. Get something going. I mean, look at the timer, 1 minute 30 seconds, half down is spent, and they've just entered admin. The first step of the round. The Flourish drones just now entering the building to take down the barbed wire, the desk, the probably shield, whichever. And Elevate, they are primed to play in those corners. They got the Wamai, they got the Toxic Babes. They're playing around utility and timer on the clock because they know how slow Bleed they've been. Are you safe here?
Oh wow, that was a nice
okay.
impact. That's... You don't see that every day, but good usage of the impacts. And here comes the fire. Is NHiKal going to survive? He's got this tiny little place that he can play. And meanwhile, SpeakEasy's found an opening kill. Desperately now, Bleed try and even things up. And they found MC at least SpeakEasy and Shed both low HP. So yeah, the health advantage lies with Bleed, but still Elevate have these positions. And NHiKal is trying to decide when it's time for him to piece on out of there. Reaps feeling a little bit of that pressure as the fire chips away at his damage. Leader also dying, but Turnster has finally got that entry. A trade immediately back from SpeakEasy, who will commit to his position. He will play it to the death. As Bleed have no choice but to make their way forward. Nobody realized that SpeakEasy had been here the whole time. Turns to refrags. He's been a shining light for Bleed today, but we need so much more from him with 3 HP. He makes his way forwards, and he puts that diffuser down on the ground. But Ape is there with an impact to try and disrupt this, to try and open the round and shut the door on their face! Elevate have this game in the palm of their hands, and Bleed are slipping through their fingers!
2 impacts in pocket. Could try and go for the deny, could try and go vertically, but what happens? He opens the line of sight for Shed to see the plant position and take the round. I was getting a little bit nervous there for Elevate. I saw Shed backing off, playing towards Yellow Staring. I'm like, no, they're gonna go for a plant. You have to advance forward. You cannot fall to the pressure now, Shed. You've been so good on Bank. You've been so good on Consulate. And he steps forward at the right time. The communication from Elevate is so precise. Impact the wall, I might see the plant spot, and that will be enough. SpeakEasy, he's been a demon inside of meeting. That's not the first time he's been doing this. Last time they held this bomb site, I was praising this man for 30 seconds straight, saying how well he played that through and through. And somehow, Bleed gets surprised once more when he is staking his ground in meeting because he owns that territory.
Oh, just look at how fired up they are as well. I mean, another day in the office, job's not done yet. Yeah, of course. But I'm feeling the intensity, man. I feel like I'm starting to shake. I can't imagine what Bleed are feeling right now. This major spot has been theirs for the taking. The one stage where their biggest competitor, Fury, has dropped off the face of a cliff. Bleed went undefeated. We haven't seen that from Bleed for a while. They usually drop a map here or there. They were flawless in the group stage, did not drop a single point. And here in playoffs, also 2-0 over Fury. Their first overtime, yeah, but we'll take those. Today, they've lost their first map of Stage 2 against Elevate on Bank. And after winning on the first map, it looks like the back-to-back champions are on the verge of being reverse swept and having that major spot taken from them.
Potential final round. And Elevate, they keep playing the mental warfare. Look at their orbital lineup. They're saying we can hide behind cover, we can deny the plant, we can stall you out on time. Bleed, they keep going slower and slower in all of these attacking rounds. Tashanka deployable shield, Clash, Mira, Maestro, Warden. Elevate are saying, we're not gonna roam. We're not gonna give you any easy kills in this server in this round. We're gonna make you come to the bomb site, struggle through the roam clear, be super slow in the attack, and then have so many different things, so many problems to throw in your direction that you have to deal with. The Blitz Mentalist. That could be a way forward for them, but that's where the Clash from SpeakEasy comes into play. Clash counter shields 1-to-1 always. SpeakEasy's sole job in this round should be to find out where Mentalist is as a Blitz player and just match him 1-to-1. Because if Clash is where Blitz is, Blitz becomes useless.
Slow and steady progress though. The Mira has been displaced. The drones come forward, but time is ticking away, and that's what you said was the enemy of Bleed right now. And here comes the Clash to play.
Ooh. And for the escort, gets Shed stuck in the corner. The Clash helps out. This Sparrow staircase flank could be massive. The Barbars don't stop it out.
Oh, Reaps has to win this. Oh, he wins his fight, and now he can come in for the backstab against that Clash. Immediately, SpeakEasy has to get a dodge, but he bangs down for more. 4 HP, but it might not matter. He's done the damage. Mentalist, his HP dwindling, but SpeakEasy has finally been finished off. It's up to Ape and Shed now to finish what they started. As Bleed have finally got themselves an advantage on an attacking rounds. Ape and Shed trying to work together now as the retake in sight. Turdstar has been a real hindrance. Here comes the Blitz, and Mentalist keeps Bleed's head above the water for another round. No celebrations, no time for it. Just the long march to overtime.
One round at a time for both of these two teams, and again, this experience kind of plays in your favor. If you're Elevate, you know, we've had so many teams before, internationally, domestically, they're not used to success, they're not used to qualifying, and they get so close they can taste it, and then they let a little bit go off the gas, or they take less risk, or they start playing a little bit more timid in the server. I don't think Elevate did anything wrong in particular in that round. Reaps hit just fucking things up, and it kind of snowballed from there. Lead, however, they're staying in it, right? I think the Blitz play there from Mentalist was genius. They found so much map space and control in the backside take. You could punch the mirror windows, and it didn't fall to the Clash because Reaps got those early aggressive kills early on, forcing SpeakEasy to go with the gun instead of the shield. But Elevate, I mean, they've guaranteed themselves overtime at worst, and it's almost a bit of a relief when you go there because you're not throwing anymore, right? Now you play a best of 3 in round count, but if you're Elevate, you're gonna want to close it out 7-5. You're gonna want that sweet victory in regulation and say, guaranteed, not a shadow of doubt, the better team deserves to go to the major.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
I mean, overtime could be begging here. I'm feeling pretty ready for it. As if this game couldn't get any more intense.
I'm so ready.
Man, I love this. Like, I know that you're a new addition, Pengu, to coming down and doing some APAC stuff, but you've really taken it on with your whole hand and your whole heart. You know, working on the Korean region and now here in the real APAC, you know, the APAC South regions. Here in Asia League, like, yeah, you've seen these guys at international events before, but I think we've roped you into it. This is a storyline that I just cannot wait to see how it pans out. I'm enjoying every second of it, and it far out. If it doesn't get more intense than this, I don't know what to say. Bleed pushing overtime. Keep their dream of that major alive. When everyone had the expectation on their side, it rests on this round.
It sounds silly, but there's so much on the line for both these two teams. The storyline is so good. Like, I am emotionally invested right now, and I don't have a clear favor right now. It's been a great game. It's been a great underdog story for Elevate. It's been Bleed fighting back and trying to turn up to 110% performance to match them in this best of 3. Both teams have delivered so many times so far. Mentalist stakes the Blitz once more, feeling comfortable. Staring down match point. He has that comfortability of just pushing through the map and buying space for his team. Right now, he's very alone, though. Not sure if that's a bait or not. C4 goes south. Not popped just yet, but that's gonna stop into this push for now. It's popped early, actually. Bit of a wasted C4.
I think that smoke just obfuscated the vision. He didn't have the information. If he'd known, he probably would have kept that C4 there as a little dissuasion for the Blitz marching forward. There's Aroma, though, and High Cal. Bleed are being very cautious about these flanks, constantly watching for it. And Shed's going to get spotted by that death mark. Still a bit of an impasse.
TP'd out. That's the tracker. MC though down for the count, and IKEL trades back to a 4-on-4. Mentally is baiting so on the backside, but the Razor's team is not making enough progress in the map right now.
Oh, and Hoven is unable to focus up. Mozzie targets up on Hoven, does punish him. Perfect timing there for the Deimos. 3v3 though. The Blitz is down for the counts. Elevate just have to hold on for another 30 seconds as Bleed have no choice but to make their way forward. And this is late. This is desperate. There's not a lot in it for Bleed. They just have to go. 20 seconds. You can't stand here on your cameras forever, boys. The Major is calling, and it lies on the other side of an overtime or bust. 10 seconds to play and still 6 alive. They go in, and there's the cover. Leader and Hoven together. Leader doubles down. Reaps has sent us the distance. Bleed continue this rivalry deep into overtime.
You could feel the pressure there, the nervousness for Elevate. They're watching the piano hatch. They have no idea what's going on. They're overthinking these simple situations. They could play in cafeteria. They could hold the yellow door. They could watch the backstab. I think Bleach stalling out for 30 seconds might actually have won them the round. Elevate couldn't make sense of what the hell was going on. They threw out the Candelas and didn't push. That must mean that they've left the backstab to rotate to piano hatch, right? No! Bleach just made a play that didn't make a ton of sense and it surprised Elevate. That combined with, of course, being a match point and being so close. Overtime is on the menu. This match deserves it. These two teams deserve to go the distance and really fight it out every single round. Make it 8-7. Take us all the distance, all the way. Elevate is start on defense, Bleed on the attack. Things will stay the same.
Yeah, overtime well and truly on the menu. This has been a 3-course meal, Nate, a feast. And we have been treated to some unbelievable siege, and this rivalry continues. That moment there, heartbreaking for High Cal as he tried to escape as the tracker went off, and he was barricaded out of the site. Bleed leaving it till the last second to push into the site, and just relying on their frag ability to get themselves across the line and into OT. But the headache doesn't stop there. Nick, we've had 8 rounds of defense and only 4 rounds of attack won in this match so far. And Elevator now on that defensive side, as you said, unchanged. But Bleed have just won back-to-back attack rounds. Can they make it 3 for 3?
One thing here for Bleed, you need to keep track of SpeakEasy instead of Meeting. He has gotten a number the last 2 times his bombsite has been defended and single-handedly carried the round for Elevate. You cannot get caught by surprise again. And to my surprise, actually, SpeakEasy is not playing aggressive inside a Meeting, but rather playing passive in CO, maybe for a late round plant deny instead. This could be Elevate changing it up by saying, hey, different players in different positions to change the outcome of the round and keep Bleed guessing as to what they're trying to accomplish. Bandit trick in break room, prepped C4, primed and ready. But Bleed is still in step 1. They want to get the meeting wall first before they make the move towards admin, which is going to be step 2. They're making their approach, getting down those repels. Lion scan goes out, the second one actually so far in this round. They gotta start entering the building because the time is ticking away.
Leader's been good on the Deimos. I mean, the Deimos has been shared around Hoven last round. That was an ambitious C4 with the window still open. Look at this, though. Talk about ambition. The timing could not have been better there for Arpe, and Hoven kicking himself. He just went for that repel. Now the track onto Arpe to try and hunt down that Goyo. There's an aggressive player here, Reaps, at the top of Spiral. Tell you what, Reaps has had a shocker of a grand final today. He stepped up in the semis yesterday, and today, the grands, it's not been his finest moment.
One flag going out, Goyo has just popped as well, so 40 seconds left in the round, that's gonna be fire. But look at this, Bleed, they're ready for next, give it a fire, it misses again, just like last time. MC can stick the corner, plus he's a shield alive. No nades left now, last one to spend. If that doesn't clear the shield, he's gonna be fine here.
We've got a backstab. I don't think anybody from
backstab.
Elevate knows about this, but
That's new.
Leader's snuck behind enemy lines. There is a player watching for his position, and if he doesn't check it, Nighthaven could unlock this round. The backstab has been voided, and Bleed, they continue to fall one by one! Every single player into the grinder! Elevate again with match point before them!
I respect Leader and Bleed for going for a backstab. It made so much sense because they haven't been doing this at all so far. But guess what? They were so ready for it. I thought it was SpeakEasy stuck inside CEO, but it's NICal just very patiently holding down like a sentry turret. And he's not only a player that's running on the building looking for kills, but it was his job, his responsibility to lock down that flank attempt. Abe with a huge opening pick, by the way. Lion still had the flashbang, still had the Lion scan as well, one left in pocket. MC, again, not going cleared. Doesn't kill his shield. The fire capital misses in the corner. That's both times now where Bleed, they fall short in the exact same point in the map and not good enough to fix their problems.
Yeah, and again, I mean, after 2 successful attacks, the third time, they couldn't hack it. They had so many things going for them, but Elevate, aggressive, and the timing and the plays. Hoven going for that impact and that peek aggressively outside. I don't know whether he had some kind of information to hint that his timing might be perfect, but it could not have been better. But of course, it's not out of the woods yet for Elevate. We could very well go the distance. Bleed are back on the defense. It's been 7 rounds since we were last there. And Bleed dominated their defensive half 4-2. One of those attacks, however, was onto this very bomb site.
It's been 4-2 halves for both teams, both on defense, of course. The same similar story, same pattern of issues on the attacking side of things, but Elevate and Bleed are two very different teams from like a fundamental perspective. The opposite they play on the attacking side, where they attack from, how much time is left in the server when they go for the bomb site execute. Elevate, they've been faster, they've been snappier, then a bit more innovative, a little bit more surprising in the server for both us as observers, but also, I think for Bleed themselves, it's hard to read what Elevate will do next. Last time they popped this wall with a summer charge, they sprinted through, ammoed through the window, and went for a plant. This time, they're going for, oh, he hip-fired it!
Holy
He just saved his own life.
He did with a hip-fire
Instant reaction.
Insane.
Okay. Stays alive, gives the 5v5, and it burns his C4 as well. What better time to do that in an overtime? That's ridiculous reaction time there from SpeakEasy, who's been so good so far.
I need a drink after this game, I tell you what. This is just stressful. And I'm not even in the bloody server, just watching it. The second-hand stress, the second-hand anxiety is palpable. And the aggression, the swing from Hoven! Punish! Hoven! He doubles down and he loses his life!
Why?
Desperation is the only explanation! And Bleed, again a player down! Reaps finds his though, and SpeakEasy, who has been the hero of the day for Elevate, will sit the rest of this round calling to his team.
Elevate's been smart though. They put SpeakEasy, who, yes, great player, but he's playing the recruit operator. He spent all his flashbangs on utility. He was just a gun. They keep all utility alive. 2 Dokkaebi calls, 4 Yinkandelas, 4 smoke grenades, plus the glass. They still have everything available to their strat. And the most important thing, they can go twice. 4 Candelas and 4 smokes, they don't have a 1-pump strat. They have multiple goes here. They can afford to go slow.
Oh, but this Vulcan canister and the smoke will keep the Dokkaebi at bay. In goes the glass. Good cover, but is it good enough? No, when Mentalist is there over Abe. A trade and Bleed are falling one by one. 3 players left up for Elevate. As you said, they have second chances. The Mentalist and Leader, the 2 brothers on this team, in arms on those support roles in that leadership position. The Shed forcing down that plant. The cover, the denial. There's nothing in it for Bleed. Elevate now have a post plant, and surely they have the game with it. Leader and Mentalist have to do the impossible. A retake in a 2 versus 3 with the best possible position available for Elevate to cover it. The Vulcan fire will surely not be enough, and look at these 2 chatting it out. There's no time for talking. The time is for action. 7 seconds on this defuse, and the coverage has to be their Leader taken down. Mentalist against the world, and you can see it with your own eyes. The king is falling, and even royalty can bleed. Asia has a new champion! And Elevate are gonna ride that rave all the way to Montreal.
Not just are they phenomenally individually as players, but I've always been saying this so many times today, strategically, the depth, the counterplay, the prep work, the variety in operators, they've been so good at controlling the best team in Asia in this entire best of 3 series. Bleed said that round they lost in basement, that's gonna live rent-free in a nightmare from them when they go to bed. SpeakEasy said, try again next time.
Oh man, I can barely believe it. After the rivalry between Bleed and Fury for over a year now in Asia, there's only one team that can go to Montreal, and it is Elevate. I can't describe anything. The desk is going to have to take it from here because I'm just done.
It's gonna be in your nightmares, Jake, Xenox, and Diddy. That is going to haunt Mentalist and Co. for I mean, that's an eternity. You don't come back from that one. That is a performance from Elevate. They bring it back in overtime. Jake and Guz both join me on the desk now, but Mr. Venditti, I mean, what a performance.
Yeah, what a grand final. It's a grand final I feel like we haven't had in Asia League probably since we split from APAC South. Congratulations wholeheartedly to Elevate. You know, we said on the desk, I mean, I know me and Guz said 2-1 to Bleed, and I think Rob, you even said 2-0. And while we had believed that they could get one of these maps, that being Bank, and they did, you know, we weren't too sure how Consulate was going to play out. But, I mean, to their credit, I mean, they were sensational. It was... And I'm not just talking Consulate, I'm talking the whole series, right? You kind of look at this in holistically, the whole 3 maps, the way that they played. It's probably the best siege that we've seen from Elevate, and they brought it at the right time. Whereas for Bleed, I felt like there's a couple of members there that had arguably the worst performances we've seen from them for some time. And I'm calling out Reap's. Leader had a shocking series as well after having a really good stage. I actually thought Leader this stage had a tremendous stage. And then in this series, just didn't show up. Mentalist will have one to forget, and it will be in his nightmares. Minus 11 KD, minus 5 entry, 1-6. He had the worst KPR in the server, and only 57% cost, and he only survived 9 rounds overall, a 3-mapper. So at the end of the day, Turd, fantastic, did as much as he could. If he gets kicked from this team, there's way more issues. He was sensational in the grand final. But my MVP has to be SpeakEasy. We spoke to him yesterday, Rob, was it yesterday or at least a couple of days ago? And he said, we're going, this is our time. And he backed it up, 4-0 on the entries across the 3 maps, plus 8 on the KD, 70% cost, best player in the server.
I feel like it was SpeakEasy that left us on a cold note at the end of the interview last night, guys. I mean, this is ice in the veins. This is the performance that can elevate you. No. It can send you into a completely different playing sphere. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a testament to him and the whole team to being able to perform under pressure. I think it was James in the final round mentioning that he's feeling the second-hand anxiety. And honestly, even just as a pure spectator, I have not felt that nervous watching a game in a really long time, especially domestically. The pressure inside of the server and the pacing and the trade game, etc., was of a really high quality. It was really exciting to watch. And I mean, what a journey for Elevate, right? They get knocked out of the semi-final by Fury in the previous stage. They spend this entire off-season basically trying to rebuild for this moment, and it's paid off, which is insane for them. The unfortunate side note is now for Asia, well, good luck making it to SI. Elevate are going to have to absolutely pop off at Montreal. They do get the stage 2 advantage, so there is still actually a pretty good possibility they could call for SI in points. For Bleed, though, that possibility is almost null now. So, APAC qualifiers, they'll need to pick themselves up and do a bit of a rebuild, much like Elevate did.
Yeah, it's crazy you say, actually, that, you know, how intense that game was as a viewer. I couldn't imagine what it was like as a player. So let's find out, shall we? Let's bring in SpeakEasy.
What is up?
Holy shit. What a performance. How does it feel, SpeakEasy?
It feels amazing knowing everything we went through, guys. From stage 1, you know, we felt... We felt good. I think this is like It felt nice. I don't know how to say it. Words can't describe the things we put together. The blood, sweat, and tears, everything we do. Oh my goodness. I felt good. And the team feels good as well.
All I can really say right now, firstly, congratulations, SpeakEasy, to not only yourself, but to all of the team, the organization, the staff. You guys have been putting in a lot of work. Clearly, you go back to Copenhagen last year, and since then to now, it's been a long time. It's been a long time coming. You guys have been working really hard. What do you think the difference was this stage compared to, say, last year? So where have the improvements come from, you reckon, that has now got you back to a major?
I think the difference is that we were actually quite, we were not abusing the meta enough in stage 1, and we are kind of playing quite default, trusting ourselves. I mean, we do trust ourselves, but we have to think bigger picture. Like, why are some things much more overpowered? And for example, like shields and stuff. This is why we bring in like some chaos with the shield strats, with the blitz, with the ying. I think this is why we have actually improved in stage 1 and also in EWC.
Now, SpeakEasy, obviously, congratulations. Before this game, we looked at your player profile and had a look back at all your international events now. It's a pretty stacked list. There was quite a drought, though, from Sweden to Copenhagen, and I suppose Copenhagen to now. What does it mean to you personally to qualify for Montreal and also MVP for the evening as well?
Well, I think the MVP is the team, guys. But what it feels for me is that that hard work always pays off at the end. Doesn't matter if you fall down 6 times, 7 times, we'll get back the 8th time, guys. Hard work. This is life advice also for everyone watching. Okay, hard work pays off. You can't buy your way through. I mean, we sort of got.
Like, you did buy some players.
We did get imports, but like,
you can kind of buy your way through.
But hard work.
Yes, yeah. You can buy your way to the door, but then you're going to push past the bouncer. Isn't that right, SpeakEasy?
That's true.
Look, mate. I mean, I'm over the moon for you. I think I share the sentiment of the entire talent team that have watched you for 6, 7 years now. It's been absolutely insane how long we've been watching you in this region, consistently putting up numbers. So, from all of us here on the desk and the boys that have just finished the cast, congratulations. You're back to a major. You're back to an international event. I'm going to leave you with the final word, mate. Anything you'd like to say?
Say, any doubters, I hope I prove you wrong. And Mama, I made it! I'm in Montreal! We're in Montreal! Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, SpeakEasy. We'll see you there, mate.
Congratulations.
So, yeah.
Wow. I mean, that just goes to speak volumes. SpeakEasy has been unbelievable this season, this stage, this game, but overall, I mean, we're just looking at this from a completely different level now, Xenox. You can see what it means to SpeakEasy. I don't even want to, I couldn't even imagine what it means to be on that roster, going through what they have been. You can see, you see it there. You just see it right there. Like, imagine Shed coming over international and having the first stage that they had. Now they're going to a major as a squad. It's just, I mean,
hasn't necessarily,